Chapter 560. When Tang Ao heard that this warrior had also used his life soul to refine the spirit Qi, he became even more interested. Tang Ao originally believed that he had not been able to enter the second stage of the spirit pagoda because he had used his life soul to refine the spirit Qi. But from the looks of it, that wasn't the case. Since it wasn't because he had used his life soul to refine the spirit Qi, why had he skipped the second stage and come to the third stage? Tang Ao pondered for a moment before he suddenly thought of something. He had a map of the Shinnong ruins, but it was impossible for other warriors to have one. Before Tang Ao came to the Shinnong ruins, Lu Lingxian had given him a map of the Shinnong ruins. Tang Ao had also followed the map of the Shinnong ruins, so he had come here directly. According to Lu Lingxuan's mark on the map, the Shinnong ruins palace was behind this snowy plain. However, according to Lu Lingxian, this should be an underground tunnel and not a snowy plain. Tang Ao was bent on obtaining the Shinnong grass to save Suning, so he had followed Lu Lingxuan's map and chosen the closest route to the Shinnong ruins main hall. That was why he had missed the second stage, the Spirit Pagoda. With this in mind, Tang Ao sighed helplessly. If he hadn't had the map of the Shinnong ruins, Tang Ao would definitely have passed the second stage, the Spirit Pagoda. And after Tang Ao refined all the 81 spirit Qi in his body, he would definitely be able to reach the 81st level of the Spirit Pagoda. Unfortunately, fate made fools of him. In order to take a shortcut, Tang Ao had skipped the second stage. As Tang Ao was pondering, the white-robed Murong Xiao spoke. Just now, when I was in the snowy plain in the distance, I suddenly saw a 9-color divine light shoot into the sky. I wonder if there are any friends who know what caused this strange phenomenon. Murong Xiao said that he didn't know what caused this phenomenon and even asked the crowd. However, in Murong Xiao's heart, raging waves had already been set off. In Murong Xiao's hand was a disc. There were 9 golden dots on the disc. Usually these 9 golden dots were dim, but at this moment, these 9 golden dots were blooming with resplendent golden light. This disc was called the Spiritual Treasure Disc, and its function was to detect spiritual treasures and divine weapons. Spiritual treasures and divine weapons were divided into 9 grades. On the black-yellow continent, even super forces like the 8 major sects and the 6 great clans of the primordial era did not possess more than a handful of spiritual treasures and divine weapons. Murong Xiao was the eldest disciple of the Murong clan of the primordial. In this generation, the 8 major sects of the black-yellow realm had lost their talents, while the 6 major clans of the primordial were filled with outstanding talents. Among the young disciples of the 6 great clans of the primordial era, Xiaohou Linyuan of the Xiaohou clan and Bai Zhanyuan of the Bai clan were both outstanding talents of this generation. When Murong Xiao was still at the first level of the origin martial realm, Xiaohou Linyuan and Bai Zhanyuan were already at the peak of the 9th level of the origin martial realm. The difference between Murong Xiao and the two could be said to be like heaven and earth. Later on, Bai Zhanyuan suppressed his cultivation in order to participate in the trial of the Emperor Netherworld's secret realm and slowed down his cultivation speed. Chapter 561. Tang Ao was in the crowd, so he didn't know what Murong Xiao was thinking. Tang Ao looked at the actions of the surrounding cultivators and secretly felt a little funny. These warriors were actually searching nearby, as if the primordial sacred sky bow that had released the 9-colored holy light had been left nearby. Although Tang Ao thought their actions were funny, Tang Ao didn't laugh. Instead, he searched with these people. Tang Ao didn't know if others noticed the disc that Murong Xiao had taken out, but Tang Ao saw it clearly with his sky-polar eyes. Most people here didn't know what Murong Xiao was holding, but Tang Ao knew that the disc was called the Spiritual Treasure Disc. Tang Ao didn't expect to see this thing in this life. The Spiritual Treasure Disc was something that was rarely seen in Tang Ao's previous life. It was said that this Spiritual Treasure Disc was made by a sect called the Spiritual Treasure Sect. However, the Spiritual Treasure Sect had been lost for 3,000 years in Tang Ao's previous life. Therefore, even in Tang Ao's previous life, the spiritual treasure disc was a rare treasure. He didn't expect the Murong family to have a spiritual treasure disc. The spiritual treasure disc could detect the aura of the surrounding treasures. According to the strength of the aura, the 9 golden dots on the disc would light up accordingly. After Murong Xiao activated the spiritual treasure disc, Tang Ao clearly saw the 9 golden dots light up on the disc. When Murong Xiao saw the 9 golden dots, his body trembled. Then, Murong Xiao looked coldly at the crowd. In his previous life, Tang Ao hadn't come into contact with the spiritual treasure disc. But now, Tang Ao had to admit that this spiritual treasure disc was extraordinary. At that moment, Tang Ao had already placed the primordial sacred heavenly bow into his storage ring. However, the spiritual treasure disc could still sense the presence of the primordial sacred heavenly bow through the storage ring. If Tang Ao was in his best condition, Tang Ao would definitely leave this place without hesitation. However, Tang Ao's spiritual power had only recovered by 10%, so Tang Ao could only pretend to be calm and deal with Murong Xiao. Tang Ao saw the dangerous look in Murong Xiao's eyes and knew that Murong Xiao wouldn't let them leave so easily today. But Tang Ao was not worried at all. Right now, there were hundreds of warriors here, and because of the ice and snow, most of their power had been suppressed to the 3rd level of the Sea of Souls realm. However, with Tang Ao's sky polar eyes, Tang Ao could still see that there were actually 5 warriors from the 5th floor of Linghai Jing and 7 warriors at the 1st and 2nd level of the Sea of Souls realm. As for the rest, they were all the same as Tang Ao, 4th level Sea of Souls realm warriors. In this situation, it was obviously impossible for Murong Xiao to force them to stay. Even if Murong Xiao was also a warrior from the 7th floor of Linghai Jing, Murong Xiao was still far from being able to command everyone. Therefore, if Murong Xiao wanted to find out who had the primordial sacred heavenly bow, he would have to use some tricks. Tang Ao still didn't know how Murong Xiao was going to investigate, so Tang Ao could only wait for Murong Xiao to make his move. And Murong Xiao didn't disappoint Tang Ao. Although Murong Xiao's martial talent wasn't as great as Xiahou Linyuan and Bai Zhan Yuan, Murong Xiao's scheming was far beyond the two. Then Murong Xiao raised his hand and said to everyone, "Junior brothers and sisters, does anyone know what this is?" Chapter 562. When Tang Ao saw Murong Xiao take out the spirit treasure plate, he was also a bit confused, not knowing why Murong Xiao would take it out. Could it be that Murong Xiao wanted everyone here to line up and take the test one by one, to see who had the primordial sacred sky bow? Although this was the most direct and effective method, it would also make Murong Xiao a target for everyone. Tang Ao did not think that Murong Xiao would have the guts to do so. Even if Murong Xiao wanted to do it, with Murong Xiao's current strength, he would not be able to do it. Of course, if Murong Xiao were at the 8th or 9th floor of Linghai Jing, if Murong Xiao wanted to do it, no one here would object. Compared to the warriors of the 5th floor of Linghai Jing, the 7th floor of Linghai Jing was only 2 small realms higher. If a warrior from the 5th floor of Linghai Jing fought against a warrior from the 7th floor of Linghai Jing, the warrior from the 5th floor of Linghai Jing would most likely be killed by the warrior from the 7th floor of Linghai Jing. However, if 10 warriors from the 5th floor of Linghai Jing fought against 1 warrior from the 7th floor of Linghai Jing, then the warrior from the 7th floor of Linghai Jing would immediately lose his advantage and would most likely be killed by the 10 warriors from the 5th floor of Linghai Jing. With absolute power, no matter who it was, no matter what they wanted to do, it would be the right thing to do. However, without absolute power, once they angered the crowd, they would not be far from death. Murong Xiao was a smart person, and smart people could usually achieve their goals by reducing the trouble. Therefore, Murong Xiao thought of this method. After Murong Xiao saw that no one present recognized the spirit treasure plate, he said to the crowd, "This thing is called the secret treasure plate. It can search for rare treasures in the world." Murong Xiao took out a jade bottle from his storage ring. Then, Murong Xiao said to everyone, This jade bottle contains 100 drops of Earth-grade Earth Spirit Essence that I obtained on the 18th floor of the Spirit Tower. Everyone looked at Murong Xiao in confusion. They did not know what this Lord Murong was going to do. Although some people thought that Murong Xiao was flaunting his wealth, they quickly denied this thought. No one would doubt the wealth of the Murong family of the primordial era. As long as Murong Xiao stood there, even if he did not take anything out, everyone knew that this young Master Murong must have a high status. Murong Xiao continued, "Now, I'll activate the artifact plate to examine this bottle of Earth-grade Earth Vein Spirit Essence." All the warriors looked at the bottle of Earth-grade Earth Vein Spirit Essence in Murong Xiao's hand with envy. Earth-grade Earth Vein Spirit Essence was the accumulation of the essence of Earth Vein Spirit power. 1 drop of Earth-grade Earth Vein Spirit Essence was enough for a warrior at the 9th level of the Origin Martial Realm to break through to the Spirit Sea Realm. 10 drops of Earth-grade Earth Vein Spirit Essence was enough for a warrior at the Spirit Sea Realm to break through to the Spirit Sea Realm. Without considering the consequences, this bottle of Earth Realm Earth Vein Spirit Marrow in Murong Xiao's hand would be enough for a first-level Sea of Souls Realm warrior to break through the shackles of Sea of Souls Realm and become a Life and Death Realm warrior. The Earth-grade Earth Vein Spirit Essence was divided into 3 grades: Heaven, Earth, and Human. The Human-grade Earth Vein Spirit Essence was the lowest grade, while the Earth-grade Earth Vein Spirit Essence could be considered rare. As for the Heaven-grade Earth Vein Spirit Essence, it only existed in legends. After Murong Xiao activated his so-called artifact plate, a beam of golden light shot out from the plate, covering the bottle of Earth-grade Earth Vein Spirit Essence in Murong Xiao's hand. Then, a small golden dot lit up on the plate as well. Everyone was slightly shocked after seeing this. This Earth-grade Earth Vein Spirit Essence was already a treasure that a lot of people dreamed of, but this kind of treasure could only light up 1 golden dot on the plate. Chapter 563. Just as Tang Ao was pondering this, Murong Xiao said, "Everyone can see that my bottle of Earth-grade Spirit Vein Essence is a priceless treasure. However, even such a treasure can only light up 2 stars on the secret treasure disk." Murong Xiao swept his eyes over the crowd and continued, "The Underworld Emperor's mystic realm is a place where all cultivators can achieve meteoric success and soar to the sky. Originally, I shouldn't interfere with what an individual obtains in the Underworld Emperor's mystic realm." When Tang Ao heard Murong Xiao's words, he knew that things weren't looking good. This Murong Xiao was indeed a scheming person. His Earth-grade Earth Vein Spirit Marrow was already a priceless treasure that couldn't be found on the market. However, the Earth-grade Spirit Vein Essence could only light up 2 stars on the secret treasure disk. At this moment, the primordial sacred heaven bow in Tang Ao's storage ring could light up 9 stars on the secret treasure disk. If Tang Ao wasn't wrong, Murong Xiao was going to trick everyone into testing the primordial sacred heaven bow one by one to see who had it. Every cultivator in the Underworld Emperor's mystic realm had more or less gained something. If Murong Xiao relied on his strength to force everyone to test the primordial sacred heaven bow, he would definitely incur the wrath of the crowd. Even Murong Xiao from the 7th floor of Linghai Jing wouldn't be able to get away scot-free. However, this Murong Xiao was too scheming. He didn't use such a stupid method. Instead, he took out the Earth-grade Spirit Vein Essence to test the secret treasure disk. He wanted everyone to know that even a precious treasure like the Earth-grade Spirit Vein Essence could only light up 2 stars on the secret treasure disk. Tang Ao thought to himself, in a while, Murong Xiao would definitely say that there was someone among these people who had obtained a heavenly opportunity. Then he would ask everyone to cooperate and find that opportunity and split it evenly among everyone. At this moment, Murong Xiao spoke again. "Everyone's gains in the Underworld Emperor's mystic realm are your own opportunities and luck. However, one of my friends here managed to reap endless benefits from the Underworld Emperor mystic realm." Saying so, The artifact plate in Murong Zhao's hand released a strange fluctuation that swept over everyone. Then, to everyone's surprise, 9 golden dots lit up on the artifact plate. Murong Zhao also immediately said, "This bottle of earth-grade earth vein spiritual marrow in my hand is only 2 stars, but it's enough to help everyone here improve their strength. And this treasure that can cause the secret treasure plate to light up 9 golden stars is in the possession of one of your friends." I've already said it before. The treasures obtained in the Netherworld Emperor's mystic realm should belong to the individual, and I shouldn't interfere. But since this friend has obtained such a great opportunity, shouldn't you share it with all of us? As soon as Murong Zhao finished speaking, many of the cultivators who hadn't gained much from the Underworld Emperor's mystic realm immediately chimed in. Young Master Murong is right. Since we've obtained such a great opportunity in the Underworld Emperor's mystic realm, it's impossible for a single person to enjoy it all. We should share it with everyone. Who obtained such a treasure? Hurry up and take it out. I didn't even obtain anything in the Dark Emperor's mystic realm. Which brat obtained such a heaven-defying treasure? Hurry up and show it to me. Amidst the clamor of the crowd, Tang Ao was also secretly thinking of a countermeasure. If Murong Zhao let the cultivators pass the spirit treasure plates test one by one, the primordial sacred heavenly bow would definitely be detected by the spirit treasure plate. At that time, Murong Zhao would definitely restrain him. Right now, Tang Ao had only recovered 30% of his spiritual energy. He was far from being a match for Murong Zhao. Chapter 564. Therefore, when Tang Ao faced a powerful enemy like Murong Zhao, he couldn't fight him head-on or outsmart him. He could only think of a way to escape. With the help of the Battle Sagebone Life Spirit, Tang Ao's speed was indeed much faster. Tang Ao was only a 4th-level Sea of Souls realm martial artist, but Tang Ao's speed was not weaker than some 6th-level Sea of Souls realm martial artists. But that was all. Facing Murong Zhao on the 7th floor of Linghai Jing, once Tang Ao escaped, he would definitely be caught by Murong Zhao. Moreover, Tang Ao knew that Murong Zhao wouldn't catch him immediately. Instead, he would wait for him to run far away before making a move. In a situation where there was no one around, even if Murong Zhao killed him and took the primordial sacred sky bow, no one would know. And right now, what Tang Ao was thinking was exactly what Murong Zhao was thinking. Murong Zhao scanned the crowd with a sinister look. Murong Zhao really hoped that the person with the 9th-ranked divine weapon would escape in a panic. As long as this person escaped, the 9th-ranked divine weapon would be his. Therefore, Murong Zhao kept pressuring the crowd, hoping that this person would run away because of the pressure. If the primordial sacred sky bow was in someone else's hands and not Tang Ao's, then Murong Zhao's plan would have succeeded. But there were no ifs in this world. Right now, the primordial sacred sky bow was in Tang Ao's hands. Seeing that no one was escaping in a panic, Murong Zhao sighed helplessly. Then, Murong Zhao said righteously, "Since this friend isn't willing to share this godly item, then I can only use some methods to find it." After Murong Zhao finished speaking, he looked at the crowd and said, "Next, I will use the secret artifact plate to test each of you one by one to see who has this divine object. I will definitely find this heaven-defying divine object and divide it equally with everyone. Martial artists who are willing to take the test, come to the right. After the test, each of you can receive a drop of earth-grade spiritual marrow as compensation." After Murong Zhao finished speaking, 2/3 of the martial artists immediately went to the right side. These people didn't have many gains in the Netherworld Emperor's mystic realm, so they were naturally willing to take the test. Furthermore, after the test, they were given a drop of earth-grade spiritual vein marrow as compensation. A single drop of earth vein spirit marrow wouldn't be of much help to them. At most, it would be equivalent to a few months of cultivation. However, the earth vein spirit essence was extremely precious in the outside world. If it was sold to auction houses or shops, it could still be sold for a considerable amount of money. Therefore, these people happily went to the right side. After 2/3 of the martial artists went over, The remaining one-third of the martial artists were more eye-catching. These people hadn't gone over yet. They must have obtained many good things in the Netherworld Emperor mystic realm. Even a drop of earth vein spirit marrow wasn't enough to tempt them. Are there any other friends who are willing to take the test? Murong Xiao asked coldly as he looked at the remaining one-third of the warriors. At the same time, Murong Xiao's powerful aura from the 7th floor of Linghai Jing also pressed down on everyone. A second-level Sea of Souls realm martial artist couldn't withstand this kind of pressure and spat out a mouthful of blood. Then, he unwillingly walked to the right side. After this martial artist walked over, Tang Ao and the others also followed. The reason why Tang Ao didn't walk to the right side was because with Tang Ao's sky polar pupils, Tang Ao discovered that the first few martial artists to the right side had all been marked by Murong Xiao's soul mark. Chapter 565. Tang Ao walked to the right and discovered that Murong Xiao hadn't planted a soul imprint on him. Tang Ao couldn't help but heave a sigh of relief. If Murong Xiao couldn't find the primordial sacred heavenly bow after testing his suspects, he would definitely test everyone present. But if that happened, Tang Ao would definitely be the last to be tested. Right now, Tang Ao had only recovered 30% of his spiritual power, so Tang Ao wasn't confident that he could escape from Murong Xiao. But as time passed, Tang Ao's spiritual power continued to recover. The more time passed, the more spiritual power Tang Ao had recovered. If his spiritual power had completely recovered, Tang Ao had a 30% chance of escaping. As for now, Tang Ao didn't even have a 10% chance of escaping. After a long time, most of the people had come to the right. There were only 4 people standing on the left. Murong Xiao looked at the 4 people with a dark expression. Besides Murong Xiao, many of the people around Tang Ao had also secretly planted a soul imprint on the 4 people. If they still weren't willing to be tested at this time, it was clear that they had obtained a great treasure. Are the 4 of you not willing to be tested? Does that mean that you don't treat me, Murong Xiao, as a friend? Murong Xiao looked at them with a sinister expression and said in an unusually cold voice. The temperature of the snowy plains was already sufficiently low and cold. But at this moment, Murong Xiao's words sounded even colder than the temperature of the surroundings. Young Master Murong, I didn't obtain much in the Netherworld Emperor's mystic realm. But when I entered, I took an item from my family. It's really inconvenient for me to be tested. Under Murong Xiao's cold gaze, a young man in a red brocade robe said with a trembling voice, "Oh, it's an item from your family. May I know where this junior brother is from?" As the eldest young master of the Murong clan, Murong Xiao knew most of the disciples from the 6 great clans of the primordial era and the 8 great sects of the Xianwang clan. However, in Murong Xiao's mind, there was no such person in front of him. This meant that this person was not a disciple of the 8 great sects or the 6 great clans of the primordial era. Since that was the case, this person must have something shameful on him. He must be lying. If it was the 8 major sects of the Xianwang realm and the 6 major families of the remote antiquity, they would be able to take out some priceless items. However, apart from the 8 major sects and the 6 major families of the remote antiquity, the other forces would definitely not want treasures that were too conspicuous. Thus, Murong Xiao immediately made this person his prime suspect. It was highly possible that the 9th grade divine weapon was in this person's hands. Senior Brother Murong, I come from the Purple Sun sect. 300 years ago, the Purple Sun sect was one of the 8 great sects in the Yellow Heaven world. Therefore, there are some inheritances in my sect that are inconvenient for you to take the test. After hearing the red-clothed youth's words, Murong Xiao was a little hesitant. The red-clothed youth was right. The Purple Sun sect was indeed a great sect that had tens of thousands of years of inheritance. It would not be surprising if the sect had some treasures. Thinking of this, Murong Xiao quietly planted a soul imprint on the red-clothed youth. He then said to the person, "Junior brother, since you are not willing to take the test, you can stand to the side for a while. However, if I can't find that heaven-defying item after I test everyone here, junior brother, senior brother, don't worry. The item that Senior Brother Morong is looking for is definitely not on me. Chapter 566. Now that Tang Ao had obtained the Dark Emperor's inheritance in the Dark Emperor's mystic realm, he would definitely be a formidable opponent. If someone else had asked them to pass the test one by one, everyone would have attacked them. However, after Murong Zhao's little trick, everyone willingly accepted his test. Tang Ao stared at Murong Zhao as he secretly circulated his Jade Bone Life Spirit to heal his injuries. At the same time, he was silently thinking of a way to escape. Even if Tang Ao's spiritual power had recovered, he would not be a match for Murong Zhao if Tang Ao wanted to escape. Therefore, even if Tang Ao wanted to escape, he could not show that he was guilty. After Murong Zhao finished questioning the red-robed youth, Murong Zhao looked at the remaining 3 people. These 3 people were 2 men and 1 woman. Under Murong Zhao's gaze, they looked slightly flustered. Are the 2 juniors and this junior sister not willing to accept the test? Murong Zhao's voice was no longer cold. On the contrary, it was warm. If there were no accidents, the 9th grade god weapon was very likely to be in the hands of these 3 people. Therefore, Murong Zhao's mood improved. In the Black-Yellow mainland, 9th grade god weapons only existed in legends. The Murong family of the Primordial Era was considered a great power in the Black-Yellow mainland. However, Murong Zhao knew that the family did indeed have a god weapon. In fact, there were 3 of them. However, 2 of them were 1st grade god weapons, and 1 was 3rd grade god weapon. Compared to the 9th grade god weapon that he was about to obtain, it was a far cry. Thinking about how he was about to obtain the 9th grade god weapon, Murong Zhao's mood was exceptionally good. If it wasn't for the fact that one of these people had obtained a 9th grade god weapon, Murong Zhao would not have done such a thing for the sake of the bigger picture. It was just that no one seemed to be against him. After Murong Zhao asked, the girl replied, Senior Brother Murong, I did have some gains in the Netherworld Emperor Mystic Realm, but the girl didn't continue. Instead, she wiped her tears and said helplessly, Senior Brother Murong, I'm willing to accept the test. Tang Ao looked at this girl and felt a little strange. She was still at the 1st level of the Sea of Souls realm. With this kind of cultivation, she would not have much chance in the Underworld Emperor's secret realm. If Tang Ao was not wrong, this young girl should be a disciple of a small sect. After obtaining some treasures in the Netherworld Emperor Mystic Realm, she had overestimated the value of those treasures. The truth was just as Tang Ao had expected. This young girl was indeed a disciple of a small sect. Because she had never seen any treasures in her sect, she had overestimated the value of the treasure she had obtained in the Netherworld Emperor Mystic Realm. Murong Zhao's eyes flickered as he looked at the girl. At this moment, Murong Zhao felt that the 9th grade god weapon might be on this girl, but he also felt that it was definitely not on her. After thinking for a while, Murong Zhao decided to use the spirit treasure plate to test. Junior sister, since you are willing to accept the test, I will start with you. Murong Zhao said as the spirit treasure plate in his hand shone with a golden light, completely covering the girl. A strange wave instantly swept through the girl's body. This wave came and went quickly. However, after it disappeared, not even a single gold star lit up on the spirit treasure plate. Upon seeing this, the young girl was slightly shocked. Murong Zhao was also very astonished. Murong Zhao had originally thought that this young girl would have at least 1 treasure that could be taken out. How could it be that she could not even light up a single golden star? Chapter 567. Under the gaze of Tang Ao and the others, the girl thought for a while and also took out a beast egg from her storage ring. This kind of demon beast egg was not rare, so Tang Ao recognized it with a glance. This demon beast egg was laid by a demon beast called the Earth-Armored Beast. The Earth-Armored Beast was not an abnormally strong demon beast. It was just that the Earth-Armored Beast was docile and easy to raise. Moreover, the Earth-Armored Beast had a very strong life force, so it would not die easily during the raising process. When the Earth-Armored Beast reached adulthood, it could reach the 4th or 6th level of the Sea of Souls realm. It could be said that with this Earth-Armored Beast egg, and if it could grow smoothly, the girl would be able to reach the 4th or 6th level of the Sea of Souls realm. This girl would be like having an extra 4th level Sea of Souls realm bodyguard. In the girls' martial school, the leader's teacher was only at the 1st level of the Seas of Souls realm, and this demonic beast egg, which could grow to the 4th or even the 6th level of the Seas of Souls realm, was extremely valuable. Therefore, the young girl was worried that this demon beast egg was a treasure that everyone wanted to divide equally. However, when she took out the demon beast egg and everyone remained unmoved, the young girl began to doubt whether she had overestimated the value of this demon beast egg. Murong Xiao saw that the girl's treasure was just an earth-armored beast egg, and he could not help but chuckle. Even the earth-armored beast with the top bloodline could only grow to the 6th level of the Sea of Souls realm. It would take at least 10 years for the earth-armored beast to reach adulthood. Most of the martial artists present were already at the 4th or 6th level of the Sea of Souls realm. Moreover, everyone had more or less gained something in the Underworld Emperor's secret realm. Therefore, after 10 years, Murong Xiao was sure that a lot of people would be able to reach the life and death realm. Some of the most talented and lucky martial artists might even be able to reach the life and death realm before leaving the Underworld Emperor's secret realm. Not to mention others. Murong Xiao himself was confident that he could reach the life and death realm before leaving the Underworld Emperor's secret realm. When Murong Xiao saw that the treasure that the girl regarded as a treasure was merely a demonic beast egg of an earth-armored beast, he took out a golden demonic beast egg from his storage ring and handed it to the girl. Looking at this golden demon beast egg, everyone could feel that it was extraordinary, but not many people could recognize what kind of demon beast this demon beast egg belonged to. When Tang Ao saw this demonic beast egg, he raised his eyebrows slightly. If Tang Ao and Murong Xiao were not in such a hostile state, Tang Ao could not help but want to exchange this monster beast egg with Murong Xiao. This demon beast egg was laid by a demon beast called the Golden Feather Immortal. The Golden Feather Immortal looked like a golden bird. However, the Golden Feather Immortal was extremely small, only the size of a baby's palm. However, the Golden Feather Immortal had two very attractive characteristics. The first was that the Golden Feather Immortal could sense the aura of the surrounding treasures. In this Underworld Emperor's secret realm, if one could hatch this Golden Feather Immortal, the harvest would be unimaginable. Apart from this, the Golden Feather Immortal could transform at the Origin Martial Realm and possessed quite a bit of battle power. After the Sea of Souls realm, the Golden Feather Immortal could even complete its bloodline evolution and become the legendary Phoenix. Therefore, Tang Ao secretly felt that although this Murong Xiao was a sinister person with deep schemes, whether it was the Earth-grade Earth Vein Spirit Marrow or the Golden Feather Immortal's egg, Murong Xiao was extremely generous. This was a respectable and frightening opponent. Chapter 568. Tang Ao's gaze also shifted to the two of them. If the girl from before was too weak and had limited knowledge, she had overestimated the value of her treasure. However, the two of them obviously had great treasures. Under the suppression of the falling snow, one of them was at the 3rd level of the Sea of Souls realm, while the other was at the 5th floor of Linghai Jing. But under Tang Ao's sky polar eyes, one of them was at the 6th level of the Sea of Souls realm, while the other was at the 7th floor of Linghai Jing. When Tang Ao looked at the 7th floor of Linghai Jing's warrior, he was secretly shocked. Just now, Tang Ao only used his soul power to scan the crowd, so he didn't notice this warrior from the 7th floor of Linghai Jing. Moreover, after Tang Ao used his sky polar eyes to see that he was from the 7th floor of Linghai Jing, Tang Ao couldn't be sure if this person was from the 7th floor of Linghai Jing, because this person was none other than Yin Yan, who had just started a massacre in the northern region's ice fields. However, Yin Yan's strength was only at the 6th level of the Sea of Souls realm, but after Tang Ao noticed that Yin Yan had the hidden jade in stone body, Tang Ao knew that Yin Yan's strength was definitely not that low, because even the sky polar eyes couldn't see through the hidden jade in stone body's concealment of cultivation. At this moment, Yin Yin had used some kind of technique to change his appearance. Under the detection of soul power, there was no clue at all. If it wasn't for Tang Ao's sky polar eyes, he wouldn't be able to find him at all. If Tang Ao encountered Yin Yin alone, Tang Ao would definitely complain about his bad luck. But now, Yin Yin appeared here and seemed to be going against Morong Xiao. Tang Ao couldn't help but hope that the two would quickly fight. Yin Yan's strength was unfathomable, and Morong Xiao wasn't an ordinary person either. Once the two fought, it would definitely be exciting. With Tang Ao's current strength, it was impossible for him to take advantage of the situation. However, it was not a problem for Tang Ao to take advantage of the chaos to escape. Moreover, Tang Ao also knew that the 9-yin bone-crushing ruler in Yin Yan's hands was a 6th-grade divine weapon. Even if it couldn't light up 9 golden stars, it could still light up 6 golden stars. Although a 6th-grade divine weapon could not compare to a 9th-grade divine weapon, it was still a rare treasure. Thus, Tang Ao was certain that once he found out that Yin Yin possessed a 6th-grade divine weapon, there would definitely be a battle between Morong Xiao and Yin Yin. When Morong Xiao arrived in front of Yin Yin and Morong Xiao suddenly sensed a dangerous aura from Yin Yin. According to Morong Xiao's investigation, Yin Yin and the other martial artists were only martial artists from the 5th floor of Linghai Jing. Logically speaking, no matter what methods a martial artist from the 5th floor of Linghai Jing had, they should not be able to make him feel danger. Are you too unwilling to take the test as well, junior brothers? Morong Xiao asked as he looked at Yin Yin and Morong Xiao. Although Yin Yin was arrogant, he started to keep a low profile after being injured by Ying Jia not long ago. Although Morong Xiao could not see Yin Yan's strength, Yin Yin could see Morong Xiao's strength. Like Yin Yin, Morong Xiao was also a martial artist from the 7th floor of Linghai Jing. Furthermore, the feeling that Morong Xiao gave Yin Yin was also very dangerous. Clearly, he was not that kind of trash that was piled up with medicinal pills. Yin Yin did not say anything, but the martial artist beside him said, "Senior brother Morong, I do have a treasure on me, but this treasure is definitely not what senior brother is looking for. I can also let senior brother test this treasure, but this treasure can only be seen by senior brother alone. I can trust senior brother's character, but as for the others, humph." Chapter 569. As Tang Ao watched Morong Xiao talk to this young martial artist, he was also secretly recovering his spiritual power. After such a long time of recovery, the spiritual power in Tang Ao's body had recovered from 30% to 40%. Under the refinement of the hidden jade in stone, Tang Ao's speed of absorbing and refining the spiritual power in his body was extremely fast. After a while, Tang Ao could recover half of the spiritual power that he had just consumed. Facing an opponent like Morong Xiao from the 7th floor of Linghai Jing, even if half of the spiritual power in Tang Ao's body recovered, it would be useless. Therefore, Tang Ao was now looking forward to a conflict between Morong Xiao and Yin Yin. Yin Yin was the same as Morong Xiao. They were both martial artists from the 7th floor of Linghai Jing. Once the two of them fought, Tang Ao could take the opportunity to escape. However, at this moment, Morong Xiao did not seem to have any intention of making a move. Obviously, Yin Yan's strength also made Morong Xiao a little afraid. Because Yin Yan's injury had not recovered, he did not want to fight with a martial artist of the same level like Morong Xiao. Not long ago, Yin Yin crushed Ying Jio's heart, but Yin Yin was also injured by Ying Jio. At that time, Ying Jio did not fight to the death. Otherwise, Ying Jio and Yin Yin would probably have died in the northern snowfield. Tang Ao did not know about this. Now, Tang Ao only hoped that Morong Xiao and Yin Yin would fight, but it seemed that Morong Xiao and Yin Yin would not do as Tang Ao wished. Yin Yin's style of doing things was very arrogant. Logically speaking, when Morong Xiao wanted to explore his treasure, Yin Yin should have fought with Morong Xiao, but until now, Yin Yin was still indifferent. How long has it been? And Yin Yin's temper has become so good. Tang Ao secretly lamented in his heart. Not long ago, Yin Yin was still a temperamental, arrogant, and domineering devil. How could he not react to Murong Zhao's bullying? If it wasn't for the fact that Tang Ao could vaguely sense the resonance between him and Yin Yan's hidden jade body, Tang Ao would have suspected that this guy was Yin Yin. Picking the softest persimmon to pinch was a habit of many people, and Murong Xiao was no exception. After noticing that Yin Yin was a little tricky, Murong Xiao decided to eliminate the other martial artist as a suspect first. A ninth-grade divine weapon was definitely a treasure that could only be encountered by luck and not sought after. Therefore, even if Murong Xiao had to risk the wrath of the masses, he had to find out who had the ninth-grade divine weapon. Now, Murong Xiao was not sure if the ninth-grade magic weapon he was looking for was with Yin Yin, so Murong Xiao was not ready to fight with Yin Yin now. Of course, if he found out that the ninth-grade divine weapon was not with anyone else, Murong Xiao would still attack Yin Yin without hesitation. Yin Yin gave Murong Xiao an extremely dangerous feeling. After entering the Netherworld Emperor Mystic Realm for so long, Yin Yin was the first martial artist that gave him such a feeling. Therefore, Murong Xiao looked at the young man by Yin Yan's side. The young man clearly didn't want to expose his treasures to the public, so he asked Murong Xiao to secretly inspect the treasures in his possession. Murong Xiao only wanted to know the whereabouts of the ninth-grade divine weapon, so this young man's request was obviously not much. However, once Murong Xiao agreed, it would inevitably cause dissatisfaction among the others. Therefore, Murong Xiao naturally would not do such a thing. Junior brother, don't worry. After everyone here has been tested, other than the 9-star divine weapon, all the other treasures will belong to them. No one is allowed to fight for them. Otherwise, my unfettered blade will definitely not let him off. Chapter 570. When Tang Ao saw the primordial sacred heaven bow in Murong Zhao's hand, Tang Ao suddenly thought of something else. A few months ago, when Dong Xuanya was being hunted by Qing Fengmin and the others, Dong Xuanya had given a treasure to Tang Ao. Although Dong Xuanya had instructed Tang Ao to use it on his own, this item belonged to Dong Xuanya after all. Hence, Tang Ao had never used it before. The item that Dong Xuanya had given to Tang Ao was also not an ordinary item. It was a 6th-grade magic weapon, the true martial mystic seal. Tang Ao had a headache at the thought of this. He was already the target of public criticism because he had the primordial sacred heaven bow. If he had another true martial mystic seal, Yin Yin and Murong Xiao would probably attack him immediately if others found out. Hence, Tang Ao could only speed up the recovery of his spiritual power while watching the movements of Murong Xiao and the others. Just now, the young warrior had wanted to explore Murong Zhao's treasure with him in private, but Murong Xiao had rejected him. After Murong Xiao rejected him, the warrior's expression did not change much. However, when Murong Xiao took out the Freedom Blade, the warrior's face clearly flashed with a hint of joy. Tang Ao had originally thought that once the warrior took out something good, he would definitely be killed by Murong Xiao. However, Murong Xiao did not have any intentions towards him. Instead, he had his eyes on Murong Zhao's Freedom Blade. Seeing this, Tang Ao could not help but find it interesting. There were so many warriors here now. On the surface, they were respectful towards Murong Xiao, but in reality, many of them had ulterior motives and were eyeing Murong Zhao's treasures. How could Murong Xiao not know the nature of these people? He had taken out 2 treasures, the Earth-level Spirit Vein Essence and the Golden Feather Immortal. Naturally, some people would be eyeing them. With Murong Zhao's shrewdness, he had already considered this before he took out the item. However, Murong Xiao wasn't worried about being targeted. Other than Yin Yin, whom he couldn't see through, Murong Xiao wasn't afraid of anyone here. Even if it was Yin Yin, once Murong Xiao found out that the 9th-grade divine weapon was with Yin Yin, Murong Xiao would not hesitate to attack Yin Yin. Murong Xiao also knew what the 6th-level Spirit Sea realm martial artist in front of him wanted to do. While Murong Xiao was looking at Fang Hongjian was also looking at Murong Xiao nervously. Fang Hongjian's current cultivation level was at the 5th floor of Linghai Jing, but his real cultivation level was at the 6th layer of the spiritual ocean realm. In addition, Fang Hongjian had a secret art that could increase his cultivation level to the 8th layer of the spiritual ocean realm in 30 breaths' time. The Murong Xiao in front of him was only a martial artist who had just entered the 7th floor of Linghai Jing. He wasn't much stronger than Fang Hongjian, who was at the peak of the 6th layer of the spiritual ocean realm. If Fang Hongjian used another secret art to increase his strength to the 8th layer of the spiritual ocean realm, he was 90% sure that he could take down Murong Xiao. Fang Hongjian and Murong Xiao didn't have any grudges, but Fang Hongjian knew that Murong Xiao had a bottle of heaven-level spirit vein essence on him. Originally, Fang Hongjian only knew that Murong Xiao had this bottle of heaven-level spirit vein essence on him. But after seeing Murong Xiao's unfettered saber, Fang Hongjian's killing intent towards Murong Xiao also intensified. Tang Ao was mixed in the crowd. Looking at Murong Xiao and the other two, who were full of hostility, Tang Ao felt that he was getting safer and safer. Chapter 571. For the majority of elite martial artists like Tang Ao, it wasn't difficult for them to fight someone of a higher cultivation level. However, that was when elite martial artists or genius martial artists faced normal martial artists. Tang Ao didn't know Fang Hongjian's strength, but Tang Ao could feel that Murong Xiao was definitely not someone to be trifled with. At least, the current Tang Ao was definitely not Murong Xiao's opponent. Between Murong Xiao and Fang Hongjian, if Tang Ao had to choose an opponent, Tang Ao would definitely choose Fang Hongjian without hesitation. While Murong Xiao and Fang Hongjian were in a deadlock, Tang Ao had recovered 60% of his spiritual power. After recovering 60% of his spiritual power, Tang Ao let out a sigh of relief. After recovering 60% of his spiritual power, it wouldn't be easy for him to fight with Murong Xiao. However, Tang Ao could use some tricks to escape unscathed. On the other side, Murong Xiao hadn't expected Fang Hongjian to be so daring. A mere 6th level spiritual ocean realm martial artist actually dared to covet his belongings. Among this group of people, Yin Yin was probably the strongest. Aside from Yin Yin, it would be Fang Hongjian in front of him. Right now, Murong Xiao still hadn't found out who had the 9th grade divine weapon, so Murong Xiao didn't want to fight with Fang Hongjian. After pondering for a moment, Murong Xiao said, "Junior brothers, since these 3 junior brothers aren't willing to be examined now, why don't we wait for the others to finish examining them before we examine them?" Murong Xiao said this helplessly. He had been trying his best to maintain a fair and just image because he was worried that he would be targeted by the martial artists present when he was investigating everyone else. Although these martial artists wouldn't target him no matter what due to his previous carrot and stick approach, Yin Yin and the other two's actions still made Murong Xiao very angry. When Murong Xiao was talking to the 3 of them, Murong Xiao had already planted a soul imprint on them. But after the martial artists here dispersed, it would be the death of Yin Yin trio. After hearing Murong Xiao's words, Tang Ao's heart skipped a beat. Tang Ao originally thought that Murong Xiao, Yin Yin, and Fang Hongjian would soon start fighting, but he didn't expect that Murong Xiao was not only scheming but also shameless. Everyone else had to accept Murong Xiao's probing, but Yin Yin and Fang Hongjian were strong enough to avoid it. This was extremely unfair to everyone, but because of Murong Xiao's carrot and stick approach, the martial artists around Tang Ao only moved their mouths but didn't say anything in the end. Tang Ao could also understand what these people were thinking. These people definitely didn't have many gains in the Netherworld Emperor mystic realm. Hence, under the temptation of Murong Xiao's drop of Earth-rank spirit vein essence, they readily agreed to investigate his treasures. Murong Xiao was very satisfied when he saw everyone's expressions. Since there are no objections, I will begin the investigation. After saying that, Murong Xiao took out the spiritual treasure disc and the jade bottle containing the Earth-rank spirit vein essence. Now, All junior brothers and sisters form a long line and investigate in front of me in an orderly manner. Of course, if the junior brother who obtained the 9-star divine item is willing to share it with us, I won't make things difficult for him. Chapter 572. Tang Ao was unmoved by Murong Zhao's words, but a young girl beside Tang Ao started to tremble slightly after Murong Zhao finished speaking. Tang Ao had an impression of this young girl. She was the first person who had been willing to let him inspect her treasures. Just now, Tang Ao was sure that there must be something wrong with her if she had agreed so readily to let him inspect her treasures. Now that Tang Ao saw her like this, he was even more sure of his guess. However, Tang Ao didn't know what this young girl was nervous about. Even if she had some treasures, could they be of the same level as the primordial sacred sky bow? Murong Zhao's target was the primordial sacred sky bow in Tang Ao's hands. Hence, even if the young girl had something, in Tang Ao's opinion, it wouldn't be able to move Murong Zhao. However, Tang Ao had guessed wrongly this time. This young girl had an impressive item. Although it was slightly inferior to Tang Ao's primordial sacred sky bow, the mysterious clear mirror in the young girl's hands was also an 8th-grade divine weapon. Although an 8th-grade divine weapon wasn't as precious as a 9th-grade divine weapon, an 8th-grade divine weapon was enough to pique Murong Zhao's interest. When Xia Qinyu saw Tang Ao looking at her, she smiled at Tang Ao, although she was very nervous. However, the smile on Xia Qinyu's face was full of bitterness. Xia Qinyu was a martialist on the 5th floor of Linghai Jing, but Murong Zhao was a martialist on the 7th floor of Linghai Jing. Once Murong Zhao found out about the mysterious clear mirror in her hands, not only would she lose the mysterious clear mirror, but Murong Zhao would also most likely not let her off. When Tang Ao saw Xia Qinyu's bitter smile, he was even more surprised. Murong Zhao wanted to deal with him. So what was this young girl so nervous about? Could it be that she really had some heaven-defying item in her hands? Combining the memories of Tang Ao's past and present lives, Tang Ao judged that the primordial sacred heaven bow was the only 9th-grade magic weapon in the black-yellow continent. As such, it was impossible for Xia Qinyu to have another 9th-grade divine weapon in her possession. Moreover, Xia Qinyu's current nervous expression was clearly not an act. This meant that Xia Qinyu also had a divine weapon in her hands. It was just that he didn't know what grade it was. However, Tang Ao estimated that the weapon in Xia Qinyu's hand was at least a 3rd-grade magic weapon. The unfettered saber in Murong Zhao's hand was already a 3rd-grade divine weapon. If Xia Qinyu's divine weapon did not exceed the 3rd grade, Murong Zhao would not be too interested even if he wanted to. When Xia Qinyu smiled bitterly at Tang Ao also smiled warmly at Xia Qinyu. Xia Qinyu's age was about the same as Su Ning, and Xia Qinyu seemed to be very timid. "My name is Tang Ao. How do I address junior sister apprentice?" "I'm Xia Qinyu from the Tai Ching sect. Greetings to senior fellow apprentice Tang Ao." After Tang Ao heard that Xia Qinyu was actually a disciple from the Tai Ching sect, he was slightly taken aback. The current Tai Ching sect was not one of the 8 major sects of the Black-Yellow Continent, but in Tang Ao's previous life, the 8 major sects of the Black-Yellow Continent weren't even qualified to carry the shoes of the Tai Ching sect. Time passed, and the world changed. In 10,000 years, many giant sects from 10,000 years ago had now disappeared in history. In Tang Ao's previous life, Tang Ao and the Tai Ching sect were not friendly, and they were mortal enemies. At the beginning, the Tai Ching sect's sect master and 4 elders besieged Tang Ao together, but they were all killed by Tang Ao. Therefore, Tang Ao didn't know if the Tai Ching sect had fallen to this state because of him. Chapter 573. Therefore, the Tai Ching sect, from the sect master to the ordinary disciples, had offended many enemies outside. Thinking of this, Tang Ao couldn't help but smile. Although this Tai Ching sect was a bit overbearing, it was one of Tang Ao's most respected opponents. As Tang Ao was the demon lord in his previous life, Many sects in the Black-Yellow continent regarded Tang Ao as a mortal enemy, especially those who claimed to be righteous sects. They even wanted to kill Tang Ao all day long. However, these hypocrites were all shouting slogans loudly, but in fact, they were all greedy for life and afraid of death. In the several encirclement and suppression launched by these righteous sects against Tang Ao, only the Tai Ching sect dared to fight with Tang Ao. The rest of the sects didn't dare to fight with Tang Ao at all. Many of these righteous people who offended Tang Ao even begged for mercy without any dignity. Tang Ao naturally didn't kill these people. Tang Ao felt dirty killing this kind of trash. Senior fellow apprentice Tang Ao, what are you thinking about? Seeing Tang Ao's eyes were a little lost in thought, Xia Qinyu couldn't help asking. And Tang Ao's thoughts were also pulled back by Xia Qinyu. I'm thinking about some interesting things when I was young. Senior fellow apprentice Tang Ao really knows how to joke. Aren't you very young now? When talking to Tang Ao, Xia Qinyu didn't seem so nervous. Although Xia Qinyu called Tang Ao senior fellow apprentice, Xia Qinyu's cultivation on the surface was 2 levels higher than Tang Ao. Tang Ao was now at the 3rd floor of Sea Spirit Realm, but Xia Qinyu was at the 5th floor of Linghai Jing. However, Xia Qinyu was worried that Tang Ao would feel awkward after she explained it, so she simply followed Tang Ao's wishes and called him senior brother Tang Ao. In the Black-Yellow continent, strength was everything. If one only looked at cultivation base on the surface, then Tang Ao's true cultivation base was at the 4th layer of the Sea of Soul Realm, while Xia Qinyu's cultivation base was at the 5th floor of Linghai Jing. Therefore, it was reasonable for Tang Ao to call Xia Qinyu senior sister. However, Tang Ao's 4th level Seas of Soul's Realm was not something a normal 4th level Seas of Soul's Realm warrior could compare with. With the help of the ancient god moving sky art, the hidden jade body in the stone, and a lot of powerful life spirits, Tang Ao was already invincible among warriors of the same level. If Xia Qinyu and Tang Ao were to fight, Xia Qinyu would have no chance of winning. At this moment, Tang Ao looked at Xia Qinyu and thought of something. Xia Qinyu came from the Tai Ching sect. In Tang Ao's memory, the Tai Ching sect did have an amazing divine item. It was just that this divine item, called Tai Ching Xian Mirror, was missing in Tang Ao's previous life. Otherwise, with this divine item in hand, the sect master and 4 elders of the Tai Ching sect would not be killed by Tang Ao. According to the records in the Divine Weapon Register, Tai Ching Xian Mirror was an 8th grade divine weapon. Looking at Xia Qinyu's nervous look just now, Tang Ao was a little incredulous. Could it be that this little girl really found Tai Ching Xian Mirror in this Ming Di secret realm? If it was in other places, the chance of finding Tai Ching Xian Mirror was not very high, and it was very impossible. But in this unpredictable Ming Di secret realm, no matter what happened, Tang Ao felt that it was normal. After all, Tang Ao even found a 9th grade divine weapon Yuanshi's Sacred Sky Bow, so it was not surprising that Xia Qinyu found the 8th grade divine weapon Tai Ching Xian Mirror here. Therefore, Tang Ao said to Xia Qinyu, "Junior sister Xia, I heard that there's a divine item called Tai Ching Xian Mirror in the Tai Ching sect. Do you know about it?" When Tang Ao mentioned Tai Ching Xian Mirror, Xia Qinyu's body trembled obviously. She came to the Ming Di secret realm this time to find the 8th grade divine weapon Tai Ching Xian Mirror that was lost in the sect 10,000 years ago. Under the unremitting efforts of several generations of seniors in the sect for 10,000 years, they finally calculated the location of Tai Ching Xian Mirror in the Ming Di secret realm. Chapter 574. At this moment, after Tang Ao mentioned Tai Ching Xian Mirror, Xia Qinyu was obviously vigilant. Senior fellow apprentice is not a disciple of the Tai Ching sect. How do you know about Tai Ching Xian Mirror? While Xia Qinyu and Tang Ao were talking, a dagger slipped out her sleeve. Although Xia Qinyu's little hand was still trembling, Xia Qinyu's eyes were firm. If Tang Ao had thoughts about Tai Ching Xian Mirror, Xia Qinyu would definitely protect Tai Ching Xian Mirror desperately. Tang Ao was in the state of sky polar pupil, so all of Xia Qinyu's small movements naturally couldn't be hidden from Tang Ao's eyes. Although Xia Qinyu looked extremely docile and well-behaved, Tang Ao now discovered that this Xia Qinyu was not a docile rabbit, but a vigilant and aggressive leopard. Although I am not a disciple of the Tai Ching sect, I still have some connections with the Tai Ching sect. Tang Ao originally wanted to say that although he was not a disciple of the Tai Ching sect, he and the Tai Ching sect were enemies. Therefore, he certainly knew the treasures in Tai Ching sect like the back of his hand. But Tang Ao saw that the current occasion was not right, and Xia Qinyu was extremely nervous. Tang Ao was worried that if he really said that, Xia Qinyu would probably fight with him immediately. Now that Tang Ao finally had a chance to recover his spirit power, he naturally would not look for trouble and fight with Xia Qinyu. Senior fellow apprentice said that you have some connections with my Tai Ching sect. I wonder who in my Tai Ching sect is senior fellow apprentice related to? After Tang Ao mentioned Tai Ching Xian Mirror just now, Xia Qinyu was very cautious about Tang Ao. Now that Tang Ao said that he had a connection with the Tai Ching sect, Xia Qinyu naturally didn't believe it. Although the classics in the sect and some senior elders in the sect said that the Tai Ching sect was a glorious sect in the past, Xia Qinyu thought of the Tai Ching sect's dilapidated appearance for hundreds of years, so she didn't believe these words at all. With the current situation of the Tai Ching sect, even if someone really had a connection with the Tai Ching sect, they wouldn't admit it. For Xia Qinyu's question, Tang Ao really wanted to say, I have a deep friendship with your Tai Ching sect founder, he Tai Ching. We have fought more than 300 battles. In the end, the old man was not sensible. He came to kill me when I broke through the peak of astral reaching realm, and I killed him. This was the truth, but Tang Ao was sure that Xia Qinyu wouldn't believe it even if he said it. Moreover, Tang Ao didn't dare to say it now. Although the Tai Ching sect had declined, the sect was still a sect. Qinyu Ming sect, sect Ao didn't sect. Although there were no astral reaching realm warriors in the martial school, there were still life and death realm warriors. With Tang Ao's current cultivation, as long as a first stage life and death realm martial artist came, it would be enough to make Tang Ao suffer. As long as a martial artist above life and death realm came, Tang Ao would inevitably die even if he used all his skills. Therefore, Tang Ao could only say seriously, I don't know which senior of the Tai Ching sect I have a connection with, but in the notes handed down by my ancestors, one of them recorded the chant of using Tai Ching Xian Mirror, so I think I should have some connection with the Tai Ching sect. Tang Ao was lying this time, but Xia Qinyu obviously believed it. Xia Qinyu had Tai Ching Xian Mirror for a while, but until now, Xia Qinyu didn't know how to use this Tai Ching Xian Mirror. Therefore, if Tang Ao really knew the chant of using Tai Ching Xian Mirror, it meant that Tang Ao's ancestors had a deep relationship with the Tai Ching sect. Otherwise, it was impossible to know the chant of using Tai Ching sect's treasure, Tai Ching Xian Mirror. Chapter 575. In Tang Ao's opinion, Xia Qinyu was a disciple of the Tai Ching sect. Even if the Tai Ching sect declined, she wouldn't forget the mantra of the Tai Ching sect's treasure, Tai Ching Xian Mirror. However, Tang Ao didn't know that the Tai Ching sect had experienced several great changes in the past 10,000 years. Since the Tai Ching Xian Mirror had been lost for a long time, not many people cared about using the mantra of Tai Ching Xian Mirror. Later, there were several Tai Ching sect masters who had never touched the mantra of Tai Ching Xian Mirror in their lives. They didn't know what the mantra of Tai Ching Xian Mirror was. Until now, although many powerhouses of the Tai Ching sect had deduced where the Tai Ching Xian Mirror might be in the Underworld Emperor's secret realm. However, there was only a fragment of the Tai Ching Mysterious Mirrors mantra. Therefore, if Tang Ao said the mantra of Tai Ching Xian Mirror, Xia Qinyu would immediately know if what Tang Ao said just now is true. If Tang Ao really said the mantra of Tai Ching Xian Mirror, it meant that Tang Ao did have some relationship with the Tai Ching sect. If Tang Ao couldn't say the mantra of Tai Ching Xian Mirror, then Tang Ao was lying. At this time, if Tang Ao was lying, he must be trying to get the Tai Ching Xian mirror in her storage ring. Although Xia Qinyu didn't understand how Tang Ao knew that Tai Ching Xian mirror was on her, Tai Ching Xian mirror was related to the rise and fall of the Tai Ching sect, so Xia Qinyu had to maintain 120% vigilance. After Xia Qinyu asked, Tang Ao thought for a moment. The mantra of Tai Ching Xian mirror was divided into upper, middle, and lower. In Tang Ao's previous life, Tai Ching Xian mirror had been lost, so Tang Ao wasn't sure if Xia Qinyu knew that the mantra of Tai Ching Xian mirror was divided into upper, middle, and lower. Tang Ao and the Tai Ching sect were enemies of life and death. Although Tang Ao was now reincarnated, he no longer cared about the grievances of the previous life, and he had no grievances with the Tai Ching sect in this life. However, this was also the first time that Tang Ao and Xia Qinyu had met. They were not related, so Tang Ao did not intend to tell Xia Qinyu the mantra of the three-palace Tai Ching mysterious mirror. Therefore, Tang Ao whispered the incantation of the supreme imperial mantra to Xia Qinyu, and Xia Qinyu nodded repeatedly after listening. Xia Qinyu had Tai Ching Xian mirror for a long time, but because there was only an incomplete mantra about Tai Ching Xian mirror in the Tai Ching sect, Xia Qinyu had been unable to use Tai Ching Xian mirror. Now that Tang Ao had told Xia Qinyu about the mysterious crystal mirror's heart sutra, Xia Qinyu could already use the mysterious crystal mirror to a certain extent. And as Tang Ao expected, Xia Qinyu really didn't know that the mysterious crystal mirror's heart sutra had upper, middle, and lower. After Tang Ao told Xia Qinyu the mysterious crystal mirror's heart sutra, Xia Qinyu did not ask Tang Ao about the mysterious crystal mirror's heart sutra. After a while, Tang Ao had recovered 70% of his spiritual power that had just been exhausted. Murong Xiao also used the spiritual treasure disc to test 1/3 of the martial artists, but these martial artists didn't gain much. When most martial artists explored through the spiritual treasure disc, they couldn't even light up a golden star. Although there were countless opportunities in Ming Tian's secret realm, some high-grade treasures were also extremely rare. Chapter 576. While Murong Xiao used the spiritual treasure plate to detect the treasures on everyone, Tang Ao was also observing the surroundings. After Tang Ao recovered 70% of his spiritual power, Tang Ao was ready to run away. Originally, Tang Ao hoped that Murong Xiao and Yin Yin would have a conflict, but Murong Xiao was extremely cunning. He had no intention of fighting with Yin Yin at all. The reason why Tang Ao wanted to tell Xia Qinyu the mental cultivation method of Tai Ching Mystic Mirror was for two purposes. One was that if Murong Xiao used the spiritual treasure plate to detect Xia Qinyu first, he would inevitably have a conflict with Xia Qinyu. After Xia Qinyu knew the mental cultivation method of Tai Ching Mystic Mirror, even if she was not Murong Xiao's opponent, she could still hold Murong Xiao for a while, and Tang Ao could take the opportunity to escape. The second purpose was out of sympathy. Xia Qinyu only had the cultivation of the 5th floor of Linghai Jing, but she had an 8th-grade divine weapon. Once Murong Xiao detected that Xia Qinyu had an 8th-grade divine weapon, Xia Qinyu would not be able to resist at all. Therefore, Tang Ao told Xia Qinyu the mental cultivation method of Tai Ching Mystic Mirror. However, Tang Ao did not finish the mental cultivation method because Tang Ao was still not sure whether Tai Ching sect was an enemy or a friend. By this time, Murong Xiao had used the spiritual treasure plate to detect half of the martial artists here. After detecting half of the martial artists, Murong Xiao still did not find the 9th-grade divine weapon. However, a smile gradually appeared on Murong Xiao's face. Among the martial artists detected, there were 5 martial artists at the 6th level of Sea Spirit Realm, and there were 19 martial artists at the 5th floor of Linghai Jing. These people should be the strongest group of people present. Since the 9th-grade divine weapon was not in the hands of this group of people, it would be much easier to get rid of them. Therefore, when Murong Xiao looked at Tang Ao and others, There was a hint of ridicule in his eyes. Now, there were more than 50 martial artists around Tang Ao who had not been detected by the spiritual treasure plate, but except for the 3 martial artists on the 5th floor of Linghai Jing, the rest were at the 4th level of Sea Spirit Realm, or even lower. Because Tang Ao missed the Spirit Tower, Tang Ao's original leading strength had now fallen to the bottom of the mainstream martial artists. Although Tang Ao could also battle with Seas of Souls Realm Level 5 warriors, if he were at Seas of Souls Realm Level 5, or even Seas of Souls Realm Level 6 warriors, he would not stay there and wait for Murong Xiao to investigate. If Tang Ao was at the 6th level of Sea Spirit Realm right now, the moment Tang Ao obtained the primordial sacred sky bow, Tang Ao would immediately run far away. After that, Tang Ao would refine the Grade 9 divine weapon, the primordial sacred heaven bow, in the shortest time possible. After refining the primordial sacred heaven bow, martial artists like Murong Xiao and Yin Yin would be no match for Tang Ao. However, Tang Ao could only think about it in his heart, because Tang Ao was only at the 4th level of Sea of Souls realm. Although the primordial sacred sky bow was in Tang Ao's hands, Tang Ao had not trained a single one of the 1,800 restrictions. Therefore, Tang Ao had the primordial sacred sky bow, but he could not use it. Chapter 577. However, it would not be easy for Tang Ao to escape right now. If Tang Ao tried to run now, Murong Xiao would definitely chase after him. And Tang Ao was only at the 4th level of the Sea of Souls realm. Even if Tang Ao used all his skills and teamed up with the Frost Blood Snake, he would not be able to escape. Tang Ao was not sure if he would be Murong Xiao's opponent. Therefore, unless it was absolutely necessary, Tang Ao would not use such a dangerous method. Even at this moment, Tang Ao still looked calm and composed. However, Xia Qianyu, who was beside Tang Ao, started to get nervous. In fact, Tang Ao was also a bit nervous, but Tang Ao did not show it. Tang Ao was still far from being Murong Xiao's opponent. Even with the help of the Frost Blood Snake, Tang Ao would not be able to beat Murong Xiao. Therefore, once Murong Xiao found out that the 9th ranked divine weapon was in Tang Ao's hands, Tang Ao would be in danger. Therefore, Tang Ao was using every second to recover the spirit power in his body while looking for an opportunity to escape. At this moment, if Tang Ao tried to escape, he would definitely die. Therefore, even if Tang Ao wanted to escape, he had to make sure that Murong Xiao would not be able to see that Tang Ao was escaping. It was not easy to do this. Otherwise, Tang Ao would not have thought so hard for so long without coming up with a countermeasure. If it was to deal with ordinary people, Tang Ao could just set up an illusion on the spot and burrow into the ground. However, this time, Tang Ao's opponent was Murong Xiao. Therefore, if Tang Ao wanted to use such a crude method to escape, it would definitely not work. At this moment, although Murong Xiao was using the spiritual treasure plate to test everyone, Murong Xiao's soul power swept across everyone in an irregular manner. Although Murong Xiao's soul power was very concealed, Tang Ao's soul power was very powerful. Murong Xiao's concealed probing was incomparably clear to Tang Ao's soul power perception. At this moment, 2/3 of the martial artists present had passed the test. As for the remaining 1/3 of people, many of them looked troubled. This was because after Murong Xiao had tested so many people, the person who had passed the test with the highest grade of treasure had only managed to light up 2 stars on the spiritual treasure inventory. This meant that these martial artists did not have any amazing gains in the Netherworld Emperor's mystic realm. Therefore, when Murong Xiao wanted to check their treasures, they agreed without hesitation. Compared to these people, among the remaining 1/3 of the martial artists, there were a few who had found some priceless items in the mystic realm. Although these people had agreed to Murong Xiao's request without hesitation, these martial artists began to hesitate when it was their turn to check. Therefore, no one in front of Murong Xiao stepped forward to be checked by Murong Xiao. Murong Zhao's eyes turned cold when he saw this scene. Junior brothers, please don't waste everyone's time. This time, Murong Zhao's words received the support of the two-thirds of the martial artists behind Murong Zhao. After Murong Zhao finished speaking, those martial artists immediately urged Tang Ao and the others to be checked. Hurry up. Why are you dawdling? Whoever has the 9th grade treasure, hurry up and take it out. Otherwise, you'll be in trouble if it's found out. Stop hiding. So many of us have been checked. Do you think you can escape? Chapter 578. But in the face of Murong Zhao of the 7th floor of Linghai Jing and the many martial artists present, Xia Qinyu knew that she couldn't keep Tai Ching Xian Mirror alone. Alone? Suddenly, Xia Qinyu's mind flashed. Xia Qinyu was indeed alone before. But now, Xia Qinyu knew that Tang Ao had a deep relationship with the Tai Ching sect. What Tang Ao said just now was indeed the incantation of Tai Ching Xian Mirror. So Xia Qinyu concluded that Tang Ao did not lie. Since Tang Ao's ancestor could know the incantation of Tai Ching Xian Mirror, it meant that Tang Ao was a trustworthy person. Thinking of this, Xia Qinyu had secretly made a decision. She would hand Tai Ching Xian Mirror to Tang Ao in a while and let Tang Ao bring Tai Ching Xian Mirror back to the Tai Ching sect. She would stay to help Tang Ao stop Murong Zhao and others. In this way, although she would definitely die here, she had also made the greatest effort for the Tai Ching sect that had raised her for so many years. Senior fellow apprentice Tang Ao, I have something to tell you. Don't say anything after you hear it. Tang Ao was still observing the surroundings, trying to find a suitable escape route, but Xia Qinyu's voice suddenly came over. Tang Ao didn't hear what Xia Qinyu said clearly. He just nodded casually, then continued to observe the surroundings. Seeing Tang Ao nodded, Xia Qinyu communicated with Tang Ao using soul power voice transmission. Senior fellow apprentice Tang Ao, you asked me about Tai Ching Xian Mirror just now. I can tell you now. Tai Ching Xian Mirror was lost by the Tai Ching sect's predecessors in the Ming Tian mystic realm 10,000 years ago, but I found it not long ago. Now I will hand Tai Ching Xian Mirror to you. You take Tai Ching Xian Mirror and escape quickly. I will block Murong Zhao. If you can leave Ming Tian mystic realm alive, please send Tai Ching Xian Mirror to the Tai Ching sect. Qinyu will never forget senior brother Tang Ao's great kindness. After listening to Xia Qinyu's words, Tang Ao was stunned. Although Tang Ao had long known that Tai Ching sect was a benevolent and loyal sect, Tang Ao did not expect that after 10,000 years. The benevolence and loyalty of Tai Ching sect's disciples had not changed at all. Therefore, Tang Ao felt that although the Tai Ching sect had declined now, sooner or later, the Tai Ching sect would definitely stand on the black-yellow continent again. While Tang Ao was pondering, Xia Qinyu handed her storage ring to Tang Ao. Without waiting for Tang Ao to speak, Xia Qinyu continued, Senior brother Tang Ao, although I didn't find any precious treasures in the Netherworld Emperor's mystic realm, I did have some gains. If you can leave Ming Tian mystic realm alive and send Tai Ching Xian Mirror back to the Tai Ching sect, the things inside will be your reward. Then Xia Qinyu smiled bitterly and said to Tang Ao desolately, Senior brother Tang Ao, get ready. Let me know when you're ready. In just a moment, Tang Ao had already thought about his escape plan. But now that Xia Qinyu said this, Tang Ao had to escape with Xia Qinyu. Otherwise, after Tang Ao escaped, Xia Qinyu would definitely be killed by Murong Zhao. But Tang Ao was only at the 4th level of Sea of Soul's realm now. It was extremely difficult for him to escape alone. It would be very difficult to escape with Xia Qinyu. Chapter 579. However, it was not so easy for Tang Ao to escape with Xia Qinyu now. If Tang Ao escaped alone, Tang Ao only had a 30% chance of success. If he brought another burden, Tang Ao might as well summon the Frost Blood Snake underground and fight with Murong Zhao here. Therefore, if he didn't consider it clearly, Tang Ao could only wait for the opportunity to act now. Suddenly, Tang Ao thought of another thing. Tang Ao had just obtained the primordial sacred sky bow, and he hadn't refined the first layer of enchantment yet. Therefore, Tang Ao couldn't use it even if he had such a powerful weapon. However, according to Xia Qinyu, she had already obtained the Tai Ching mystic mirror for a long time, but she couldn't use it because she didn't have the corresponding mental cultivation method. Now that Tang Ao had told her the mental cultivation method of the Tai Ching mystic mirror, she should be able to use the Tai Ching mystic mirror. In his previous life, Tang Ao didn't come into contact with the Tai Ching mystic mirror. Although Tang Ao and the Tai Ching sect were incompatible, before the Tai Ching sect dealt with Tang Ao, the Tai Ching sect's secret treasure, the Tai Ching mystic mirror, had been lost for a long time. However, Tang Ao was injured by the primordial sacred sky bow when he was at the peak of astral reaching realm 9th level. Although the Tai Ching mystic mirror was one level lower than the primordial sacred sky bow, the one Tang Ao wanted to use the Tai Ching mystic mirror to deal with was not a peak astral reaching realm 9th level martial artist, but a mere martial artist on the 7th floor of Linghai Jing. Therefore, Tang Ao felt that as long as Xia Qinyu could use the Tai Ching mystic mirror, he and Xia Qinyu could escape smoothly. Tang Ao had now thought of a way to escape from here, but Tang Ao was worried that Murong Xiao would chase him after seeing the clues. If Tang Ao was alone, Tang Ao had many means to escape. Moreover, as long as Tang Ao escaped a little further, Murong Xiao would not be able to find Tang Ao under the concealment effect of the hidden jade and stone body. But now, Tang Ao had to escape with Xia Qinyu. When he escaped with Xia Qinyu, Tang Ao was confident that he could escape with Xia Qinyu unscathed. However, after they left this place, Murong Xiao would definitely chase after Tang Ao. With Tang Ao and Xia Qinyu's speed, Murong Xiao would definitely catch up to them. If Tang Ao was alone, the frost blood snake could carry Tang Ao through the ice and snow. However, with the addition of Xia Qinyu, even though the frost blood snake could carry the two of them through the ice and snow at the same time, its speed was greatly reduced. In this way, Tang Ao and Xia Qinyu would definitely be caught by Murong Xiao. Once they encountered Murong Xiao, even if Tang Ao, Xia Qinyu, and the frost blood snake worked together, Tang Ao would definitely not be a match for Murong Xiao. Moreover, Tang Ao was not sure if Yin Yin and Feng Hongjian were also interested in the 9th grade divine weapon. Even if it was just Murong Xiao chasing after them, Tang Ao and Xia Qinyu would be a little overwhelmed. If Yin Yin and Feng Hongjian joined in, Tang Ao would really be in danger. There were less than 20 people who had not taken the test yet. There was not much time left for Tang Ao to consider, and Tang Ao finally made a decision. Success came from the details, and riches came from danger. For the primordial sacred sky bow, Tang Ao decided to take another risk. Therefore, Tang Ao used his soul power to transmit his voice to Xia Qinyu. Junior sister Xia, can you use the mysterious sky mirror now that you know how to use it? Chapter 580. Meridians? Tang Ao did not care about the loss of the profound pulse-tempering sutra. Instead, he grasped the key point of meridians. According to Xia Qinyu, the profound pulse-tempering sutra could only increase the strength of meridians. The key to using the mysterious clear mirror was that it placed a great burden on a warrior's meridians. Since that was the case, Tang Ao could use the Jade Bone Life Soul to strengthen Xia Qinyu's meridians. Under the effect of the Jade Bone Life Soul, even if Xia Qinyu's meridians were damaged when using the mysterious clear mirror, the Jade Bone Life Soul could help her repair the damaged meridians in time. However, the Jade Bone Life Soul had just separated a child life soul for Su Ning not long ago, so it did not have the ability to separate a child life soul. Therefore, Tang Ao could only let the main life soul of the Jade Bone Life Soul enter Xia Qinyu's body to repair and strengthen her meridians. Once Murong Xiao chased after Tang Ao, and Tang Ao Tang Ao would have to fight Murong Xiao head-on, and Tang Ao was much weaker than Murong Xiao. Even with the protection of the Battle Sagebone Life Soul, Tang Ao would still be injured by Murong Xiao's martial arts. Therefore, Tang Ao also needed the Jade Bone Life Soul to constantly repair the injuries in his body. However, if Xia Qinyu wanted to use the mysterious clear mirror, she needed the help of the Jade Bone Life Soul. Thinking of this, Tang Ao was also in a difficult position. However, Tang Ao did not have much time to think. He directly used his soul power to transmit his thoughts to Xia Qinyu. After listening to Tang Ao, Xia Qinyu's eyes that were originally filled with despair also glowed with a trace of vitality. Senior brother Tang Ao, I'm willing to try. Xia Qinyu was not sure if Tang Ao's Jade Bone Life Soul would be useful, but Tang Ao's method was clearly more feasible than hers. According to her plan, she had to block Murong Xiao for Tang Ao. Moreover, she had to block him for at least 30 breaths of time. Only then could Tang Ao escape the range of Murong Xiao's soul power. Murong Xiao was a martial artist from the 7th floor of Linghai Jing, while Xia Qinyu was only a martial artist from the 5th floor of Linghai Jing. With such a huge gap between them, Xia Qinyu felt that she would not last more than 10 breaths against Murong Xiao. And in 10 breaths of time, Tang Ao definitely had no way of escaping Murong Xiao's soul power perception range. Therefore, if she followed her method of escape, she would definitely die, and Tang Ao would only have a 10% chance of escaping. If they followed Tang Ao's method of escape, although Tang Ao said that they only had a 30% chance of escaping, in Xia Qinyu's opinion, 30% was more than enough. This was because if they followed Tang Ao's method of escape, both Tang Ao and she would have a high chance of surviving. The sect had raised her for so many years, and Xia Qinyu really wanted to repay the sect's kindness. However, Xia Qinyu was also very eager to survive. Life was so beautiful, and the aristocratic families around her were so magical and gorgeous. Although life was a little cruel sometimes, one could still find a lot of beauty if they searched hard. Therefore, Xia Qinyu did not want to die, at least not here. Tang Ao did not want to die even more. Compared to Xia Qinyu's life, Tang Ao's life was much better. Moreover, Tang Ao had now obtained the only 9th grade divine weapon in the Black-Yellow continent. He also had the cultivation experience from his previous life, the mysterious hexagram mirror, and the hidden jade and stone. Tang Ao could already foresee that he would reach the peak of the Black-Yellow continent in the future. Therefore, not only did Tang Ao not want to die, but Tang Ao would also never give the primordial sacred heaven bow to someone else. In Tang Ao's previous life, he was a demon lord who could move unhindered across the Black-Yellow continent. He had a lot of methods to harm his enemies. However, this strange snowfield was too dangerous. Unless it was absolutely necessary, Tang Ao did not want to use these methods that would cause too much damage to himself. Although Tang Ao had the Jade Bone Life Spirit to heal his injuries, the Jade Bone Life Spirit would not be able to heal the injuries in Tang Ao's body in a short period of time. Ju and your sister Xia, are you ready? Tang Ao had just told Xia Qinyu his idea, and Xia Qinyu had also decided to fight with Tang Ao. Therefore, when Xia Qinyu was ready, Tang Ao immediately started to act. Because now was the best time to act, the last martial artist at the 6th level of the Sea of Souls realm confronted Murong Xiao. Chapter 581. Tang Ao's soul power spread out in all directions like a tide, probing the surroundings. At the same time, Tang Ao's eyes were fixed on Murong Xiao, as well as the martial artist at the 6th level of the Sea of Souls realm who was arguing with Murong Xiao. Murong Xiao didn't want to inspect this martial artist's treasures in private, because doing so would inevitably arouse the dissatisfaction of the other martial artists. Among the 119 martial artists here, more than 100 of them had already publicly inspected their treasures. While Murong Xiao was inspecting everyone's treasures, there were naturally many martial artists who wanted Murong Xiao to inspect their treasures in private. However, after Murong Xiao's earnest persuasion, These martial artists also openly accepted the inspection of the spirit treasure plate. What made Murong Xiao speechless was that these martial artists clearly overestimated the treasures they had. Among the martial artists who asked Murong Xiao to inspect their treasures in private, only one martial artist treasure had reached the level of 2 gold stars. Many of the other martial artists didn't even have a single gold star. This time, when he encountered this martial artist who asked him to inspect his treasures in private, Murong Xiao originally wanted to persuade him like before, but this martial artist was very stubborn, as if he really had some incredible treasure on him. Therefore, no matter how Murong Xiao persuaded, this martial artist insisted that Murong Xiao set up a barrier and inspect his treasures in private. Murong Xiao's murderous intent had been stirred when faced with this stubborn fellow. Tang Ao originally thought that this martial artist would be the same as the other martial artists before him, easily dismissed by Murong Xiao with a few words. However, what Tang Ao didn't expect was that this martial artist actually persisted under the pressure of Murong Xiao. Could it be that this guy really has some priceless treasure on him? Tang Ao secretly speculated. According to Tang Ao's estimation, he and Xia Qinyu only had a 30% chance of escaping under Murong Xiao's nose. But now, after this small accident, Tang Ao felt that the possibility of him and Xia Qinyu escaping had increased imperceptibly. Once Murong Xiao and this 6th-level spiritual ocean realm martial artist clashed, Murong Xiao would definitely not be able to leave. In this way, Tang Ao and Xia Qinyu could leave with ease. In Tang Ao's opinion, even if this 6th-level Sea of Souls realm martial artist was trash, he would still be able to last 20 breaths of time against Murong Xiao. Within 20 breaths, Tang Ao was able to get the Frost Blood Snake to take him and Xia Qinyu away from Murong Xiao's soul power detection range. Once Tang Ao and Xia Qinyu escaped Murong Xiao's soul power detection range, Tang Ao would immediately take Xia Qinyu and escape into the ice and snow underground. The ice and snow underground had an obstructive and suppressive effect on soul power, so once they were underground, Murong Xiao's soul power detection wouldn't work. Tang Ao, on the other hand, was like a fish in water in the ice and snow underground because he had the sky polar pupils. Although Tang Ao couldn't use his powerful soul power underground, Tang Ao could still use his sky polarity pupils to observe the situation underground while everyone else couldn't use their soul power to scout the area. In the ice and snow underground, even if Tang Ao wasn't Murong Xiao's opponent, he could use the power of the sky polar pupils to avoid Murong Xiao before Murong Xiao found him. Chapter 582. Tang Ao was a patient person. No matter what he did, as long as he had patience, even if he hadn't started, he would have already succeeded half of what he wanted to do. The remaining half would depend on luck and hard work. And no matter what he did, once he lost patience, he would have already failed half of what he wanted to do. The remaining half, no matter how hard he tried, could not change the outcome of failure. Hence, Tang Ao was a patient person. In his previous life, in order to steal the Heavenly Bao Sect's primordial sacred sky Bao, Tang Ao had snuck into the Heavenly Bao Sect's Lotus Lake and stayed there for half a month to assimilate his own aura. Hence, when Tang Ao broke into the Heavenly Bao Sect's hidden treasure pavilion at night, none of the Heavenly Bao Sect's hidden treasure pavilion discovered Tang Ao. But what was more tragic was that the Heavenly Bao Sect's primordial sacred sky Bao Sect's hidden treasure pavilion was kept by generations of grand elders. Hence, it was not in the Heavenly Bao Sect's hidden treasure pavilion. Hence, even though Tang Ao turned the Heavenly Bao Sect's hidden treasure pavilion upside down, Tang Ao still could not find the primordial sacred sky Bao. Fortunately, the primordial sacred sky Bao and Tang Ao were fated. In his previous life, Tang Ao could not obtain the primordial sacred sky Bao, but in this life, Tang Ao had coincidentally encountered the primordial sacred sky Bao. Although in order to obtain the primordial sacred sky Bao, Tang Ao had encountered quite a bit of trouble, but Tang Ao still liked this god weapon very much. Currently, the sun-shooting divine Bao, in Tang Ao's hands had a domineering name. In terms of quality, the sun-shooting divine Bao could be considered a first-grade god weapon. However, compared to the primordial sacred sky Bao, the sun-shooting divine Bao was simply trash. After Tang Ao's cultivation reached the spirit sea realm, the sun-shooting divine Bao was no longer as helpful to Tang Ao as before. Although the shooting sun divine Bao's material quality was comparable to a grade 1 divine weapon, it was still inferior compared to a grade 1 divine weapon. Currently, Tang Ao could not use the sun-shooting divine Bao to hurt Morong Shao. However, if Tang Ao refined the primordial sacred heavenly Bao into 300 layers of restrictions, Tang Ao was sure that Morong Shao and the others would be nothing in front of him. The primordial sacred sky Bao had 1,800 layers of restrictions. It was said that the great master of the heavenly Bao martial school, a peak-level astral-reaching realm martial artist, could only refine 800 layers of restrictions. Therefore, before Tang Ao started refining the primordial sacred sky Bao, Tang Ao wasn't sure how many layers of restrictions he could refine on the primordial sacred sky Bao. Back then, the great master of the heavenly Bao martial school had only refined 800 layers of restrictions on the primordial sacred sky Bao, and Tang Ao had almost died after being hit by the primordial sacred sky Bao. If he could refine all 1,800 layers of restrictions on the primordial sacred sky Bao in this life, what kind of horrifying power would he have? After obtaining the primordial sacred sky Bao, Tang Ao's trip to the underworld Emperor's secret realm could be considered worthwhile. Right now, as long as Tang Ao could successfully pass the God Farmer Ruins test and obtain the God Farmer Grass, Tang Ao's trip to the God Farmer Ruins would be complete. However, right now, Tang Ao was having some difficulty escaping from Morong Shao. Moreover, Tang Ao didn't know how to leave the third stage of the God Farmer Ruins, which was this strange snow field. Therefore, Tang Ao was still too optimistic when considering leaving the underworld Emperor's secret realm. Chapter 583. However, this time, Tang Ao was indeed mistaken. At the beginning of the dispute between this martial artist and Morong Shao had already wanted to kill this martial artist. However, at that time, Tang Ao and Xia Qinyu were talking, so Tang Ao didn't notice the flash of killing intent in Morong Xiao's eyes. Like Tang Ao, Morong Xiao was definitely a patient person. However, unlike Tang Ao, Morong Xiao didn't have Tang Ao's magnanimity. Previously, when Yin Yin and Fang Hong Jin attacked Morong Xiao, it was because he felt danger from them that Morong Xiao didn't make a move. But now, this martial artist was just an ordinary 6th-level spiritual ocean realm martial artist, so Morong Xiao didn't have so many misgivings. However, what made everyone's jaws drop was that after Morong Xiao chose to concede, this martial artist still insisted on Morong Xiao inspecting his treasure in private. Senior Brother Morong, even if we're going to inspect the treasure later, I will only agree to let you inspect it in private after I set up the barrier. So, if Senior Brother Morong suspects that I have a 9th rank divine item on me, I would like to ask Senior Brother Morong to inspect it now. If Senior Brother Morong is not willing to inspect it in private, then I will take my leave. After this martial artist said these words, he clearly felt a chill pass through his body. It was cold enough on the snowfield, but compared to the chill that had just passed through his body, this coldness seemed insignificant. In this martial artist's eyes, what had just passed through his body was only a cold chi, but Tang Ao could see that it was killing intent, undisguised killing intent. Although this martial artist was still alive, Tang Ao and many others already regarded him as a dead man. When they found the 9th rank divine item, Morong Xiao would definitely kill him. Seeing this warrior force Morong Xiao like this, Tang Ao really wondered how he managed to train to the 6th level of the Sea of Souls realm. With his intelligence, it was not easy for him to cultivate to the 6th layer of the Sea of Souls realm. Although Tang Ao's frost blood snake had also cultivated to the 7th floor of Linghai Jing due to its low intelligence, there was obviously no comparison between humans and demonic beasts in terms of intelligence. No matter how cunning a monstrous beast was, it would eventually fall into the hands of a human martial artist. And no matter how intelligent a monstrous beast was, it was still very difficult for it to kill a cunning martial artist of the same level. After the warrior asked Murong Xiao to inspect his treasures in private, everyone looked at Murong Xiao with different expressions. Now, more than 100 martial artists had publicly inspected their treasures, but this martial artist kept asking Murong Xiao to inspect his treasures in private. This was obviously very unfair to these martial artists. Since it was unfair, it meant that this matter had harmed these people's interests. Therefore, before Murong Xiao could say anything, a lot of martial artists who had already inspected said to this 6th level Sea of Souls realm martial artist, "Senior brother, a wise man submits to circumstances." So many of us senior brothers and junior brothers have already accepted senior brother Murong Xiao's inspection. Don't be so stubborn. Yeah, senior brother. Just now, a lot of people felt the same way as you did, thinking that the treasures in their hands were very impressive. And the result? After senior brother Murong Xiao's inspection, the treasures on him did not even light up a single gold star. Therefore, senior brother, don't waste everyone's time. Just accept senior brother Murong Xiao's inspection as soon as possible. Chapter 584. Hee, if you have the heaven-defying 9th rank divine item, you better take it out as soon as possible. Otherwise, once senior brother Murong Xiao finds out, it won't be so easy to talk to him. After this martial artist finished speaking, Murong Xiao was startled. Although the 9th rank divine weapon didn't seem to be on this martial artist, with this martial artist cultivation at the 6th level of the Sea of Souls realm, his chances of getting the 9th rank divine weapon were indeed higher among the remaining 19 people. Therefore, it was possible that the 9th rank divine weapon was on this martial artist. Moreover, if the 9th rank divine weapon was really on him, it would explain why this martial artist had to search for treasures in private. Thinking of this, Murong Xiao immediately sent a soul transmission to this martial artist. However, when Murong Xiao was about to send a soul transmission, Yin Yan's powerful soul power instantly spread out. After Murong Xiao's soul power collided with Yin Yan's soul power, Murong Xiao understood that Yin Yan must also want to see the treasure on this martial artist. Yin Yan's request wasn't excessive, but it was based on the premise that the 9th rank divine weapon wasn't on this martial artist. Murong Xiao was determined to get this 9th rank divine weapon, so Murong Xiao naturally wouldn't agree to Yin Yan's request. If Murong Xiao and this martial artist searched in private, and Murong Xiao found out that the 9th rank divine weapon was on this martial artist, Murong Xiao would definitely kill this martial artist instantly and take the 9th rank divine weapon for himself. And if Yin Yan joined in, once Murong Xiao found out that this martial artist had the 9th rank divine weapon, Yin Yan would definitely fight for it. Although Murong Xiao wasn't afraid of Yin Yan, Murong Xiao still didn't want to complicate matters before getting the 9th rank divine weapon. Of the 120 martial artists here, only 15 people hadn't been searched yet, and the 9th rank divine weapon was definitely in the hands of one of them. Therefore, Murong Xiao chose to concede this time, but at the same time, Murong Xiao planted a soul mark on both Yin Yan and this 6th level Sea of Souls realm martial artist. Once the 9th grade divine weapon was in their hands, these two fellows who had repeatedly annoyed Murong Xiao would be in big trouble. Junior brother, since you insist on privately inspecting the treasures on you, then please wait to the side for a moment. Once I'm done inspecting the treasures on the other junior brothers, I'll inspect yours. Although Murong Xiao said this, Murong Xiao still secretly sent a spiritual message to this person. Junior apprentice brother, you don't need to respond to this spiritual message. If you have the rank 9 divine item, the other junior apprentice brothers will definitely chase you if you run now. However, I will secretly help you. In the end, if you give me the rank 9 divine item, I will compensate you with a rank 8 divine item. If you don't have the ninth grade divine item on you, then just walk to the side and don't do anything excessive. Otherwise, I might be in a bad mood. Murong Zhao's spiritual message was very obscure. If it was a normal martial artist's spiritual message, Tang Ao, who was on the ninth floor of Linghai Jing now, would be able to completely intercept and understand the content of the spiritual message. However, with Murong Zhao's spiritual message, Tang Ao couldn't detect the content of Murong Zhao's spiritual message at all. Chapter 585. When Tang Ao found out that Murong Zhao had said something to this 6th level spiritual C realm martial artist through soul transmission, Tang Ao had a bad feeling. Although Tang Ao didn't know the contents of the transmission between Murong Zhao and this martial artist, Tang Ao was certain that the two must have reached some sort of consensus. Tang Ao had originally hoped that this 6th level spiritual C realm martial artist would clash with Murong Zhao, but Tang Ao didn't expect Murong Zhao to be so shrewd. Under this martial artist's almost training, Murong Zhao actually chose to concede. Murong Zhao wasn't the first disciple of the Murong clan that Tang Ao had come into contact with, but Tang Ao was sure that this Murong Zhao must be the most difficult one to deal with in the Murong clan. Tang Ao was still able to keep his composure, but when Xia Qinyu saw this 6th level spiritual C realm martial artist walk to the side, her pretty face suddenly turned pale, and her body couldn't help but tremble. When Tang Ao saw her like this, he had a bad feeling. Right now, there were only 15 martial artists who hadn't been examined by the spirit treasure plate. The rest of the martial artists were very calm, but Xia Qinyu looked like this. In this way, Murong Zhao didn't even need to examine to know that there was something wrong with Xia Qinyu. But now Murong Zhao was obviously in a bad mood, even a bit angry. When Murong Zhao was calm, nothing could escape his eyes, but now that Murong Zhao was in a bit of a bad mood, he didn't notice Xia Qinyu's strangeness at all. Thus, Murong Zhao still followed the order and used the spirit treasure plate to examine the martial artist at the front of the crowd. While Murong Zhao didn't notice Xia Qinyu's strangeness, there were two other people besides Tang Ao who did. These two people were Yin Yin and Fang Hongjian. When the two of them saw Xia Qinyu's appearance, they began to ponder in their hearts. Fang Hongjian looked at Xia Qinyu greedily, while Yin Yan's gaze kept wandering between Xia Qinyu and that 6th layer spirit C realm martial artist. In Yin Yan's opinion, this 9th rank divine item was either in Xia Qinyu's possession or in the hands of that 6th level C of Soul's realm martial artist. Murong Zhao didn't want to fight with Yin Yan, and Yin Yan was also somewhat afraid of Murong Zhao. Thus, Yin Yan was prepared to take that 6th level spiritual ocean realm martial artist by surprise. Yin Yan felt that although Xia Qinyu was also very suspicious, this 6th level C of Soul's realm martial artist was even more suspicious. Just now, when Murong Zhao wanted to communicate with this martial artist, Yin Yan had stopped him. Although Yin hadn't sensed Murong Zhao communicating with this martial artist, Yin Yan didn't feel Murong Zhao communicating with this martial artist. However, Yin Yan wasn't sure if Murong Zhao had any means to block his soul power detection, because not long ago, Yin Yan had clearly seen the change in this martial artist's expression. Although this change was very subtle and the martial artist quickly recovered, Yin Yan was also very interested in this 9th rank divine item. However, because Yin Yan was also very interested in this 9th grade godly item, Yin Yan's soul power had been enveloping this cultivator the entire time after he sensed that he was suspicious. After glancing at the trembling Xia Qinyu, Yin Yan finally decided to take this 6th level C of Soul's realm martial artist away. As for whether this person would resist, Yin Yan didn't even consider this question. Chapter 586. Tang Ao looked at Xia Qinyu and was secretly anxious. Fortunately, Murong Zhao didn't seem to be in the right state and didn't notice Xia Qinyu's abnormality. Therefore, Tang Ao hurriedly patted Xia Qinyu and then showed her a reassuring expression. At this moment, Tang Ao had basically made the necessary arrangements. He was just waiting for the right time so that Tang Ao could escape with Xia Qinyu. Although Tang Ao could also make the frost blood snake hidden underground launch a surprise attack and create chaos here, then Tang Ao and Xia Qinyu could take advantage of the chaos to escape. It wasn't a good time yet. However, it wasn't the best time to do so. Murong Zhao's soul power was still probing his surroundings. Therefore, even with the chaos created by the frost blood snake, it wouldn't be easy for Tang Ao and Xia Qinyu to successfully escape. After such a long period of observation, Tang Ao discovered a habit of Murong Zhao's. Although Murong Zhao used his soul power to scan the surroundings, Tang Ao discovered that Murong Zhao's soul power would be withdrawn into his body every 120 breaths. Therefore, when Murong Zhao withdrew his soul power into his body, it was the time for Tang Ao to make the frost blood snake create chaos. However, while Tang Ao was focused on observing Murong Zhao's every move, he neglected two other people that couldn't be ignored. Although the feeling that Murong Zhao gave Tang Ao was more dangerous than the feeling that Yin Yin gave Tang Ao, Yin Yin was the owner of the hidden J body in stone and had a 6th grade divine weapon. However, Yin Yin possessed the hidden jade body in stone, possessed a 6th grade divine weapon, and was a martial artist at the 7th level of the spiritual ocean realm. Such a person was someone that Tang Ao couldn't ignore, but Tang Ao just happened to ignore him. After some hesitation, Yin Yin finally chose to take the 6th level spiritual sea realm martial artist instead of Xia Qinyu, who was next to Tang Ao. Yin Yin chose the 6th level spiritual sea realm martial artist, but Fang Hongjian's choice was different. He almost didn't look at the 6th level spiritual sea realm martial artist, but stared at Xia Qinyu without blinking. Although Xia Qinyu was frowning, Tang Ao couldn't deny that she was indeed very beautiful. Moreover, Xia Qinyu's beauty was different from Luo Cai's. Her beauty was that of a gentle and graceful lady. Admiring beauties was one of Tang Ao's greatest pleasures, but Tang Ao wasn't in the mood. As long as he could successfully escape from Murong Zhao's clutches, Tang Ao would be able to refine the primordial sacred heavenly bow. As long as Tang Ao could refine 300 layers of restrictions, Tang Ao felt that it would be hard for him to find an opponent in the Netherworld Emperor Mystic Realm. At that time, no matter what Tang Ao wanted to do, no one would dare to say a word of objection. The premise was that Tang Ao had to be able to escape successfully. According to Tang Ao's original plan, Tang Ao and Xia Qinyu would have been able to escape successfully. But now, something unexpected had happened. The instant Murong Zhao retracted his soul power, Tang Ao was about to summon the frost blood snake to create chaos and escape. However, while Tang Ao's reaction was fast, Yin Yan's reaction was even faster than Tang Ao's. The instant Murong Zhao withdrew his soul power, Yin Yan suddenly turned into a black shadow and appeared in front of that 6th layer spirit sea realm martial artist. Without waiting for the warrior to react, Yin Yan's palm struck the warrior's abdomen at lightning speed. Under Yin Yan's palm strike, the cultivator's expression changed instantly. Then his eyes filled with despair. This was because Yin Yan's palm strike had shattered his Dantian's Qi Si. His cultivation of the 6th layer spirit sea realm that he had painstakingly cultivated was naturally crippled. Realizing that his cultivation had been crippled by Yin Yan, the warrior crazily bit at Yin Yan's throat. However, Yin Yan slashed his throat with his hand, and the warrior fainted. Then, Yin Yan carried the warrior and the two turned into a shadow, disappearing from where they were. Chapter 587. The moment Xia Qinyu disappeared, Tang Ao suddenly had an idea and gave chase with a shout. "Bastard, don't you dare hurt my cultivation partner." Under Tang Ao's soul power perception, Tang Ao had already discovered that Xia Qinyu had been taken away by Fang Hongjian. What made Tang Ao extremely happy was that although Fang Hongjian was only at the 6th level of the Spirit Sea realm, his speed wasn't slow at all when he was carrying someone. Even if Tang Ao used the battle Saint Bone Life Soul and chased with all his might, he could only barely keep up with him. The reason why Fang Hongjian was so fast was because he had a pair of black wings on his back. With Tang Ao's eyesight, he could naturally see that they weren't real wings, but a life soul. Moreover, judging from the aura this life soul exuded, Tang Ao could tell that it was at least a life soul from the 24th heaven. After Tang Ao's group of 5 left, Murong Zhao's expression instantly darkened. After hesitating for 3 seconds, Murong Zhao decided to chase after Yan Yan and the 6th-level Spirit Sea Realm martial artist. This was because the Spirit Treasure Plate in Murong Zhao's hand could still detect the aura of the 9th-grade Divine Weapon. But after Tang Ao's group of 5 left, the aura of the 9th-grade Divine Weapon completely disappeared. It wasn't hard to tell that the 9th-grade Divine Weapon was in the hands of one of Tang Ao's group of 5. However, Murong Zhao couldn't be sure who had it. In Murong Zhao's opinion, the possibility of it being in the hands of the 6th-level Spirit Sea Realm martial artist was still higher. Therefore, after hesitating for 3 seconds, Murong Zhao didn't chase after Tang Ao and Xia Qinyu's group of 3. Instead, he chased after Yan Yan. Besides the 6th-level Spirit Sea Realm martial artist, Murong Zhao was also very interested in Yan Yan. In the beginning, Murong Zhao only felt that something was wrong. He could feel a trace of danger from Yan Yan. However, Murong Zhao had immediately recognized Yan Yan after he had used the graceful reflection. Not long ago, a powerful demon had appeared in the northern region of the Snowy Plains. He had looted all the martial artists in the northern region. Although most of them had been beheaded by this demon, the surviving warriors still spoke of this matter. Through word of mouth, Yan Yan's information was no longer secret. Although Yan Yan had changed his appearance and figure, Murong Zhao immediately recognized him after he used Startling Shadow. While Murong Zhao was chasing after Yan Yan and Fang Hongjian, Tang Ao was still chasing after Fang Hongjian. Just now, Tang Ao had been somewhat glad that Fang Hongjian's speed wasn't bad. But now, Tang Ao was somewhat distressed. This was because not only was Fang Hongjian's speed not weak, with the support of that pair of black wings, Fang Hongjian's speed was simply astonishing. Tang Ao summoned the battle, Saint Bone Life, Soul, and chased with all his might, but he still couldn't catch up to Fang Hongjian. Moreover, the distance between them was still increasing. At this rate, it wouldn't be long before Tang Ao was completely left behind by Fang Hongjian. Looking at Fang Hongjian's lightning-fast speed, Tang Ao was also somewhat envious of his life soul. If Tang Ao also had such a life soul, even if he faced an opponent like Murong Zhao, Tang Ao would already be invincible. Even if Tang Ao wasn't Murong Zhao's match, Tang Ao would definitely not lose. Because with such speed, Tang Ao was certain that Murong Zhao would definitely not be able to catch up to him. Chapter 588. Tang Ao never expected Fang Hongjian to stop on his own. However, Tang Ao didn't dare to let his guard down. After all, Fang Hongjian was someone who dared to plot against Murong Zhao. He must have some tricks up his sleeves. As Fang Hongjian looked at Tang Ao in ridicule, Tang Ao sent a message to Xia Qinyu using his soul power. Fortunately, Fang Hongjian was the one who took Xia Qinyu away. If Yan Yan had taken Xia Qinyu away, Xia Qinyu's cultivation would probably have been crippled by him. After communicating with Xia Qinyu, Tang Ao immediately summoned the Frost Blood Snake and launched an attack from underground. The underground ice and snow had an obstructive and suppressive effect on soul power. Therefore, Fang Hongjian didn't notice the Frost Blood Snake sneaking under him. The Frost Blood Snake hissed and broke through the ice and snow, slamming into Fang Hongjian. Although the Frost Blood Snake's strength was suppressed on the surface, this suppression had no effect on its body as a demon beast on the 7th floor of Linghaijing. The instant the Frost Blood Snake slammed into Fang Hongjian, he was sent flying as if he had suffered a serious injury. Tang Ao also seized the opportunity and struck Fang Hongjian's chest with his palm. Then, he rescued Xia Qinyu from Fang Hongjian's grasp. After Tang Ao rescued Xia Qinyu, Tang Ao handed Xia Qinyu an octagonal mirror that exuded a cold aura. This treasured mirror was the 8th grade divine armament, the Great Purity Mystic Mirror. Xia Qinyu had obtained the Great Purity Mystic Mirror for quite some time, so after learning the incantation to control it, Xia Qinyu was already able to use it. After handing the Great Purity Mystic Mirror to Xia Qinyu, Tang Ao guided the Jade Bone Life Soul into Xia Qinyu's body. Following that, a golden light flashed on Tang Ao's body. Tang Ao activated the Battle Sage Bone Life Soul and charged at Fang Hongjian. Fang Hongjian's speed was too fast, and it was impossible for Tang Ao and Xia Qinyu to escape from him. Furthermore, Fang Hongjian had deliberately captured Xia Qinyu just now, so it was unrealistic for him to let Tang Ao and Xia Qinyu leave now. Since that was the case, Tang Ao and Xia Qinyu could only join forces to fight Fang Hongjian. Although Fang Hongjian had been sent flying by Tang Ao and the Frost Blood Snake's joint attack just now, he hadn't been injured. After Fang Hongjian steadied himself, he looked at Tang Ao and his companion, as well as the Frost Blood Snake, in shock. After Tang Ao handed the mysterious clear mirror to Xia Qinyu, Fang Hongjian's eyes lit up. Grade 8 Divine Weapon, Supreme Clarity Mysterious Mirror. Seems like my luck is pretty good. If it had been Murong Xiao, he might not have been able to recognize the mysterious Tai Ching mirror at a glance. However, because Fang Hongjian had the Divine Armament Register, he recognized the mysterious Tai Ching mirror the moment he saw it. After seeing the mysterious clear mirror, Fang Hongjian's mood improved a lot. Previously, Fang Hongjian wasn't sure if the Grade 9 Divine Weapon was on Xia Qinyu, but now that he had the Grade 8 Divine Weapon, the mysterious clear mirror, even if Xia Qinyu didn't have the Grade 9 Divine Weapon, Fang Hongjian's trip wouldn't have been in vain as long as he could obtain the mysterious clear mirror. However, when Fang Hongjian saw the Frost Blood Snake on the 7th floor of Linghai Jing, he frowned slightly. Although Fang Hongjian couldn't tell Tang Ao's strength, he could infer from Tang Ao's strike that Tang Ao's strength was between the 4th or 5th floor of Linghai Jing. As for Xia Qinyu's strength, it was at the 5th floor of Linghai Jing. Chapter 589. After Tang Ao handed the mysterious sky mirror to Xia Qinyu dragged it with both hands, and it floated in front of her. Following Xia Qinyu's incantation, the mysterious sky mirror also released waves of mysterious fluctuations. These mysterious fluctuations rippled in the air and then continuously gathered at Xia Qinyu's feet. As Xia Qinyu continued to inject spiritual power into the mirror, the fluctuations gradually formed a special array under her feet. As Xia Qinyu became more familiar with the mysterious sky mirror and continued to inject spiritual power into it, the azure blue array grew larger and larger. In the end, the array slowly flowed under Tang Ao's feet like a tide. Tang Ao had never come into contact with a mysterious sky mirror in his previous life, so Tang Ao did not know the purpose of the mysterious sky mirror. In his previous life, although Tang Ao had coincidentally learned the incantation to control the mysterious sky mirror, Tang Ao had not been able to find out the specific purpose of the mysterious sky mirror. After the azure blue array flowed under Tang Ao's feet, Tang Ao did not feel anything strange. At this moment, with Xia Qinyu as the center, the surrounding area of 15 feet was covered by the azure blue array. Just as Tang Ao was wondering what this special array activated by the mysterious sky mirror did, the spiritual power in Tang Ao's body suddenly stagnated, and then Tang Ao felt as if his meridians had been blocked by something. Tang Ao's spiritual power had originally been circulating very smoothly, but at this moment, the speed of circulating spiritual power in Tang Ao's body had decreased by 30%. Tang Ao's first suspicion was that Fang Hongjian had used some kind of secret technique, but under the gaze of Tang Ao's skypole eyes, the spiritual power in Fang Hongjian's body had always been in a state of accumulating power, and there was no sign of him using a secret martial technique at all. Then Tang Ao looked down at his feet, and Tang Ao was immediately stunned. This was because under Tang Ao's investigation, the azure blue array under his feet was actually continuously pouring cold air into his body. Under the effect of this special cold air, the speed at which the spiritual power in Tang Ao's body circulated also slowed down. Seeing this, Tang Ao hurriedly looked at Xia Qinyu. But when Tang Ao saw the speed at which the spirit force flowed within Xia Qinyu's body, he was immediately taken aback. At this moment, the flow of spirit force in Xia Qinyu's body happened to be the exact opposite of the flow of spirit force in Tang Ao's body. The flow of spiritual power in Tang Ao's body was very sluggish, but the flow of spiritual power in Xia Qinyu's body was extremely smooth. Previously, Tang Ao had used the sky polar eyes to examine the flow of spiritual power in Xia Qinyu's body. Back then, the flow of spiritual power in Xia Qinyu's body was quite smooth, but it was definitely not as fast as it was now. During a battle between martial artists, the faster and more agile the spiritual energy in the body flowed, the faster and more agile the martial arts techniques and life spirit would be. Moreover, when using some special martial arts techniques, the power would increase significantly. What made Tang Ao more depressed was that in the azure blue array of the mysterious clear mirror, the flow of spiritual power in Xia Qinyu's body was extremely smooth, but the flow of spiritual power in Tang Ao's body had become sluggish. This way, Xia Qinyu would not be able to fight alongside Tang Ao. Otherwise, under the influence of the mysterious clear mirror, Tang Ao's battle strength would definitely be greatly reduced. Of course, if Tang Ao had already refined the primordial sacred heavenly bow, Tang Ao could stand at a distance and attack Fang Hongjian with the primordial sacred heavenly bow, while Xia Qinyu would engage in close combat and use the mysterious clear mirror's azure blue light to weaken Fang Hongjian's strength. But if Tang Ao had already refined the primordial sacred heavenly bow, Tang Ao felt that he would not need Xia Qinyu's help anymore. Chapter 590. Tang Ao carefully sensed the situation in his body. Not long ago, the spiritual power in his body had been flowing very slowly, but now it was flowing at a high speed. After the spiritual power in his body flowed at a high speed, Tang Ao's battle Sagebone Life Soul became even more resplendent. Although the battle Sagebone Life Soul was only at the 24th level, its strength was no less than that of a 25th level Life Soul. Although Fang Hongjian didn't care about Tang Ao and Xia Qinyu's cultivation, he was still very concerned about the mysterious clear mirror. Every divine weapon above the 6th grade had the terrifying power to destroy heaven and earth. Although Xia Qinyu was still weak and couldn't unleash the full power of the mysterious clear mirror, Fang Hongjian didn't dare to be careless. There were many genius martial artists in the Black-Yellow continent, but most of them died before they could grow up. Fang Hongjian could also be considered one of the genius martial artists, but compared to those who died young, he was a little more cautious. This trace of caution had allowed him to survive countless life and death battles. Although he was completely confident in this battle, after seeing the Tai Ching mysterious mirror, he also became cautious. Fang Hongjian also saw the azure blue array formation beneath Tang Ao and Xia Qinyu's feet. Although Fang Hongjian could recognize the mysterious clear mirror at a glance, he was the same as Tang Ao. He didn't understand the mysterious clear mirror's functions. As Fang Hongjian was thinking, Tang Ao and Xia Qinyu attacked first. Xia Qinyu had just sent a soul message to Tang Ao, telling him that he could use the mysterious clear mirror to suppress the speed of Fang Hongjian's spiritual power circulation. However, using the mysterious clear mirror to activate the azure blue array formation would be too much of a burden on her meridians, so she told Tang Ao to finish the battle as soon as possible. Therefore, Tang Ao didn't hesitate. While letting the frost blood snake attack from the snow underground, He used the Battle Sagebone Life Soul to attack Fong Hongjian. Fong Hongjian had just been ambushed by the Frost Blood Snake. Now that he saw the Frost Blood Snake burrowing into the snow, he immediately rose from the ground and flew into the air. After Fong Hongjian flew into the air, the Frost Blood Snake leaped out from the ice and snow underground and charged viciously at Fong Hongjian. Tang Ao's eyes narrowed, and a burst of azure light immediately bloomed in his eyes. Then 8 icicles appeared out of thin air and smashed toward Fong Hongjian's head with incredible speed. At this time, Xia Qinyu also joined the battle, and the azure array formation activated by the mysterious clear mirror also enveloped Fong Hongjian. The moment he was enveloped by the formation, Fong Hongjian's expression changed. This was because the spiritual energy in his body had actually become stagnant at this critical moment. At this moment, Tang Ao and the Frost Blood Snake had sealed off Fong Hongjian's escape route, and Xia Qinyu was waiting for an opportunity to strike. Therefore, in the face of Tang Ao and the Frost Blood Snake's attack, Fong Hongjian could only take it head-on. However, now that the spiritual energy in his body had become stagnant, it was no longer possible for him to take on the combined attack of Tang Ao and the Frost Blood Snake. Tang Ao's sky-limit eyes had been watching Fong Hongjian. When he saw that the spiritual energy in Fong Hongjian's body had become stagnant, Tang Ao was overjoyed, and the 7 green lotus sword souls instantly appeared behind him. The 7 green lotuses transformed behind Tang Ao for a while, and then turned into 7 green lotus swords. Tang Ao pushed out with both hands, controlling the 7 green lotus swords to attack 7 vital points on Fong Hongjian's body. If this attack landed, Fong Hongjian would be seriously injured even if he didn't die. However, Tang Ao didn't let his guard down. Fong Hongjian was someone who had dared to plot against Murong Shao not long ago. Chapter 591. Senior Apprentice Brother Tang Ao. Is he dead? Xia Qinyu saw Tang Ao unleash a barrage of attacks on Fong Hongjian. His magnificent martial skills completely covered Fong Hongjian, so Xia Qinyu couldn't see his condition clearly. Xia Qinyu couldn't see clearly, but Tang Ao could with his sky-polar eyes. He's not dead yet. This guy does have some skills. Although Fong Hongjian was in a rather sorry state, his clothes in tatters, and there were many bloodstains on his body, Tang Ao knew that the ferocious attacks just now had only caused Fong Hongjian to suffer some superficial wounds. Tang Ao also felt that Fong Hongjian's defense was very troublesome. Faced with that kind of spiritual power attack, just now, even Tang Ao himself might not have been able to take it. Not to mention that he didn't suffer any injuries after taking such an attack head-on. After the mist dissipated, Xia Qinyu also saw Fong Hongjian. At this moment, Fong Hongjian's hair was disheveled, his clothes in tatters, and there were traces of sword wounds on his arms. Although Fong Hongjian looked to be in an extremely sorry state, Xia Qinyu also knew that as a 6th level Sea of Souls realm martial artist, such superficial wounds were nothing to him. Senior Apprentice Brother Tang Ao, what do we do now? Although Xia Qinyu's cultivation was on the 5th floor of Linghai Jing, she hadn't fought many times before. Before entering the Underworld Emperor's secret realm, Xia Qinyu was only a 3rd level Origin Martial realm martial artist, and Xia Qinyu's battle experience stopped at the 3rd level. After entering the 5th floor of Linghai Jing, this was Xia Qinyu's first time fighting with another martial artist. Moreover, Xia Qinyu's luck was really bad. This was her first time fighting with a Sea of Souls realm martial artist, and she had already encountered an expert among experts like Fong Hongjian. After Fong Hongjian walked out of the mist, he tore off his tattered long robe. After he tore off his robe, a mithril soft armor was revealed on his body. After seeing this mithril soft armor, Tang Ao immediately understood why Fong Hongjian had only suffered a superficial wound from that fierce attack. This was because this mithril software was also a divine weapon, and this divine weapon's grade was not low, it was a 3rd grade divine weapon. As far as Tang Ao knew, The Seven Kill sect was one of the 8 major sects in the Black-Yellow territory. However, the Seven Kill sect only had a 6th grade magic weapon and a 3rd grade magic weapon. However, Fang Hongjian was not a disciple of the 8 major sects in the Black-Yellow territory, nor was he a disciple of the 6 major clans of the Desolate Antiquity. Yet, he had a 3rd grade magic weapon, which was enough to show that he was very wealthy. Senior apprentice Brother Tang Ao, is his silver armor also a divine weapon? Xiao Qinyu looked at the silver armor on Fang Hongjian's body and asked with some uncertainty. Tang Ao nodded. That's right. A 3rd grade divine weapon, silver snow armor, is a rare defensive divine weapon. Seeing that Tang Ao and Xiao Qinyu were whispering to each other, Fang Hongjian sneered. Hand over the mysterious Tai Ching mirror, and I'll let you go. Otherwise, with your weak attacks, you won't be able to leave even if you want to. Although Fang Hongjian said that the joint attack from Tang Ao and the Frost Blood Snake had already consumed 30% of the spiritual power stored in the silver snow armor. If he was hit twice by Tang Ao like before, then he would be in danger. Chapter 592. After Tang Ao recognized the soft armor on Fang Hongjian's body as the silver snow armor, he immediately connected it to the god weapon list in his sea of consciousness and began to search for information on the silver snow armor. Silver snow armor, a 3rd-rank defensive divine weapon. Usually, one could pour spiritual power into the silver snow armor to increase its defense. During a battle, as the silver snow armor took more damage, the spiritual power stored in it would also be consumed. Tang Ao's sky polar eyes could see through everything in the world, so he could naturally see through the silver snow armor. Under Tang Ao's sky polar eyes, he saw that the silver snow armor only had 60% of its spiritual power left, which meant that Fang Hongjian could only block 2 attacks like the one just now. After 2 attacks, if Fang Hongjian was hit again, he would immediately bleed on the spot. Just now, the combined attack from Tang Ao and the Frost Blood Snake would severely injure a martial artist on the 7th floor of Linghai Jing, but Fang Hongjian only suffered some superficial wounds. If he didn't know the ins and outs of the silver snow armor, perhaps he would have immediately thought of retreating. But Tang Ao was obviously not one of them. So when Tang Ao faced Fang Hongjian now, Tang Ao believed he had at least an 80% chance of winning. While fighting with Fang Hongjian, Tang Ao's soul power also scanned the surroundings. This Fang Hongjian was easy to deal with, but if Murong Xiao or Yin Yin caught up, things wouldn't be so easy. Fortunately, Tang Ao didn't sense their figures. Obviously, Yin Yin and Murong Xiao were still fighting, and Murong Xiao and Yin Yin didn't realize that the 9th-rank divine weapon wasn't with that 6th-level Sea of Souls realm martial artist. Tang Ao knew the ins and outs of silver armor snow, but Xiao Qinyu didn't. After hearing Fang Hongjian's words, Xiao Qinyu whispered to Tang Ao, Senior Brother Tang Ao, why don't I hold him off while you escape with the mysterious supreme purity mirror? Otherwise, once Murong Xiao catches up, we won't be able to escape. Tang Ao was very certain of Xiao Qinyu's sacrificial spirit, but at the same time, Tang Ao secretly lamented in his heart. Sister, why do you have so little confidence in me? Although I am only at the 4th level of the Spirit Ocean realm, I have the heaven's polar eyes that can destroy the world, and I also have several powerful life spirits. I also have the 7th floor of Linghai Jing's spirit pet and the Frost Blood Snake to help me. I should be able to fight against this 6th level Sea of Souls realm martial artist, right? Of course, Tang Ao wouldn't say these words to Xiao Qinyu. What Tang Ao said to Xiao Qinyu was, Junior Sister Xia, don't worry. Fang Hongjian is only strong on the outside. Although this silver armor snow has an amazing defense, that attack just now already used up 30% of its spiritual power. With another 2 attacks like that, the silver armor snow won't be able to protect him anymore. Tang Ao had noticed the problem of the silver armor snow's spiritual power consumption, and Fang Hongjian obviously knew it too. Fang Hongjian didn't expect Tang Ao to attack so fiercely, even though he was only at the 4th level of the Spirit Ocean realm. Although the Silver Armor Snow could still block 2 of Tang Ao's attacks, passive defense had never been Fang Hongjian's style. Fang Hongjian's hands quickly formed several hand seals, and then black stripes started to twine around his body like poisonous snakes. Not long after, Fang Hongjian's skin was covered in these strange black stripes, and waves of black spiritual power were constantly emitted from his body. Tang Ao had never seen this move of Fang Hongjian's before, but Tang Ao could still recognize that it was a secret life spirit technique. Chapter 593. As Tang Ao watched Fang Hongjian's strength increase, he secretly thought of a countermeasure. With Tang Ao's cultivation at the 4th layer of the Sea of Souls realm, fighting against Fang Hongjian at the 6th layer was already very taxing and dangerous. Now that Fang Hongjian used this secret technique, his cultivation instantly increased to the 8th layer of the Sea of Souls realm. This kind of strength was something that Tang Ao would definitely not be able to fight against. Not only could he not fight against Fang Hongjian, but Tang Ao would also not be able to outsmart him even if he wanted to. Fortunately, Tang Ao was not fighting alone. Tang Ao still had the Frost Blood Snake from the 7th floor of Linghai Jing and Xia Qinyu from the 5th floor of Linghai Jing to help him. Although Xia Qinyu's strength from the 5th floor of Linghai Jing was not that useful, her 8th grade divine weapon, the mysterious clear mirror, could be of some use. All right, do you two have any last words? After Fang Hongjian increased his cultivation to the 8th layer of the Sea of Souls realm, he immediately looked at Tang Ao and Xia Qinyu with an unfriendly expression. Tang Ao had also mastered quite a few secret techniques that could increase his cultivation in a short period of time, like Fang Hongjian's. However, Tang Ao's current strength was too low. Even if Tang Ao used this kind of secret technique, Tang Ao would not be able to increase his cultivation to the same level as Fang Hongjian. Seeing Fang Hongjian increase his cultivation to the 7th floor of Linghai Jing, Tang Ao also knew why Fang Hongjian dared to have designs on Murong Shao not long ago. Fang Hongjian had the 3rd grade divine weapon, Silver Snow Armor, and this secret technique that could increase his cultivation by 2 layers. Therefore, if Fang Hongjian were to fight against Murong Shao, he would have at least a 30% chance of winning. And now, if Tang Ao and Fang Hongjian were to fight, Tang Ao felt that he should also have a 30% chance of winning. On the path of martial arts, one had to advance step by step, steadily and steadily. However, this only existed in one's imagination. In the process of a martial artist's growth, there were many times when they would encounter situations where they could not advance steadily and could only seek victory in the midst of danger. This was the situation Tang Ao was currently facing. Faced with Fang Hongjian's provocative words, Xia Qinyu didn't let Tang Ao escape with a mysterious clear mirror this time. Instead, she looked at Fang Hongjian, whose strength had soared to the 8th level of the Sea of Souls realm, in despair. If Fang Hongjian was only at the 6th layer of the Sea of Souls realm, even if Xia Qinyu wasn't his opponent, she wouldn't think that she didn't have the ability to stall him for even a moment. Now that Fang Hongjian's strength had soared to the 8th layer of the Spirit Sea realm, Xia Qinyu really couldn't hold him back anymore. Senior brother Tang Ao, what do we do now? Xia Qinyu asked Tang Ao while controlling the Supreme Purity mysterious mirror. Faced with such a situation, Tang Ao really wanted to run away. However, Tang Ao had already experienced Fang Hongjian's speed. With Tang Ao and Xia Qinyu's speed, it would be impossible for them to escape from Fang Hongjian's grasp. Thus, Tang Ao and Xia Qinyu only had 2 choices. They could either leave the Supreme Purity mysterious mirror and fight with their lives on the line, or give the mirror to Fang Hongjian and run away. The first choice was for Tang Ao and Xia Qinyu to fight Fang Hongjian, who was at the 8th layer of the Sea of Souls realm, with only a 30% chance of winning. Moreover, Tang Ao couldn't guarantee that he, Xia Qinyu, and the frost blood snake could survive. The second choice was to give the mirror to Feng Hongjian. However, because Feng Hongjian was worried that Tang Ao and Xia Qinyu would leak information about the mirror, he naturally wouldn't let them leave. Since that was the case, they could only fight with their lives on the line. Chapter 594. After Tang Ao asked, Xia Qinyu quickly replied, aside from this reverse spirit array, the Tai Ching Mystic Mirror has many other attacking methods, but they take a long time to prepare and consume a lot of spiritual power. There was one more thing that Xia Qinyu didn't tell Tang Ao. The more powerful the attack, the more burden it would put on the Meridians. In Xia Qinyu's opinion, the two of them were in a life and death situation, so the damage to the Meridians was insignificant. Although Xia Qinyu didn't say it, Tang Ao's J-Bone Life Spirit was in her body, and the J-Bone Life Spirit was of the same origin as Tang Ao. Therefore, Tang Ao naturally knew what was going on in Xia Qinyu's body. Junior sister Xia, I'll hold it back later. You use the Tai Ching Mystic Mirror to attack him with your strongest attack. As an 8th grade divine weapon, it shouldn't be a problem for it to deal with an 8th level C of Soul's Realm martial artist. After hearing Tang Ao's words, Xia Qinyu nodded. Xia Qinyu was too nervous at the moment, so she didn't notice that Tang Ao was going to fight Feng Hongjian in close combat. She also didn't know how Tang Ao was going to fight Feng Hongjian in close combat. Tang Ao was only at the 4th level C of Soul's Realm, while Feng Hongjian was at the 8th level C of Soul's Realm. With such a huge gap in cultivation, if Tang Ao was hit by Feng Hongjian, he would probably be severely injured or even killed. And because Tang Ao's cultivation was too low, even if he hit Feng Hongjian, it was very likely that he wouldn't be able to injure Feng Hongjian. Junior sister Xia, make your move. While Xia Qinyu was still in a daze, a golden light flashed on Tang Ao's body. The Battle Saint Bone Life Spirit instantly attached to his body. Then, Tang Ao summoned all the life spirits in his body and surrounded Feng Hongjian. Tang Ao waved his right hand, and the Green Lotus Sword Soul appeared in front of Tang Ao. Then, the Green Lotus Sword Soul spun and transformed into 7 Green Lotus Swords. 7 killing divine path, go. Tang Ao shouted, and 7 beams of light shot toward Feng Hongjian. Tang Ao's other life souls also attacked Feng Hongjian. However, in the face of Tang Ao's fierce attack, Feng Hongjian didn't even summon a single life soul. Tang Ao was secretly amused when he saw this scene. Although there was a huge difference in strength between him and Feng Hongjian, Feng Hongjian was still so arrogant that he didn't even summon a single life soul when facing his attack. At that moment, Tang Ao missed a life soul he had from his previous life. The life soul he had obtained was called the Blood Shadow Needle Life Soul. If Tang Ao had this life soul in his hands, Feng Hongjian would have to pay the price for his arrogance. Unfortunately, the Blood Shadow Needle Life Soul was a 27th Firmament Life Soul. If Tang Ao could escape this time, Tang Ao would definitely awaken this life soul. But now, Tang Ao still had to focus on dealing with the predicament in front of him. When Tang Ao attacked Feng Hongjian, Xia Qinyu also extended the range of the Tai Ching Mysterious Mirror's Azure Array to Feng Hongjian's feet. After being covered by the Azure Array, the spiritual power in Tang Ao's body instantly began to circulate smoothly. The spiritual power in Feng Hongjian's body did indeed tremble and then became a little sluggish. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.